Who do I got on my chat? I got Dominic Santiago.
The
And
Fuck you.
That's how you do it. Hey everybody here, Dad McTunder here, Buster McTunder, fresh off the 9 to 5, as you could probably tell. The video you're about to watch is a compilation kind of cut down version type of thing of a stream I did last week with Mild Crisp. Face here on screen. I mean, it's not his face, but it's what he uses. It was supposed to be like going over Gears of War hot takes. I feel like, as well, to preempt this a little bit, people are going to assume that it's like Gears of War rage bait and not actually hot takes.
I'm gonna open...
Freeze! That's just wrong. That's incorrect. None of this is like meant to be purposefully inflammatory. I, and by some extension Crisp, just happen to have a few more opinions on Gears that are a bit more alienated from like the wider Gears of War audience out there that you'll see on Discord or Reddit or in the comments of Gears of War's Instagram posts. If you're going into this expecting a lot of the same kind of tried opinions about Gears of War that you've heard all over the place, prepare to be caught off guard, because that's not really what this is. I feel like we have very unique perspectives on the franchise, not just being younger fans of the series. I know I don't look like it, but I was 4 years old when the game came out initially.
Rookie, this ain't the big thing yet! Send your ass for the payoff!
And I think if you go into it with that open mind of us kind of not necessarily talking exclusively about hot takes or opinions, strong opinions we have about the series, but we also moved into talking about how Gears of War functions mechanically and like philosophically as a game series, and the story and the actual gameplay of the series itself, how it's evolved, how we would like it to continue to evolve, and all sorts of different fun things like that. This is still an incredibly long video, so thank you very much for watching. If you do plan on watching it, I believe Mild Crisp will have a shorter, kind of like really summarized version, kind of variant of the video on his own channel, but this is kind of the full thing in somewhat of a podcast kind of format. You can think of it like that. Put it on, do some laundry, do some homework, do some dishes, whatever the fuck you're gonna do. Put it on while you play an entire game of Horde, because they're pretty much the same length. Keep in mind, the original stream was like 6 hours, so you're missing quite a bit here, including me and Crisp on the same stream. We went and watched Andy Pants's bullshit video about why Gears of War is woke now because women or something. That's not here. That might get turned into its own, more inflammatory video. I have no idea. For this is just hot takes and opinions about the series in its whole. I want to give a big thank you to Crisp for kind of inviting me to have this conversation, and for all of you watching this. So I hope you enjoy. And you know, I'm not gonna timestamp this or anything like that, but if there's someone who's insane and obsessed enough to do so, leave it in the comments, or share your own Gears of War hot take. I don't know why I'm immediately jumping to try and conscript viewers to do work for me. What's your hot take about Gears? What is the things you agreed with most in this like cut down stream video thing? What are the things you disagree with the most? This is kind of a conversational type of video, so get those opinions out. Share them with us all. Do you dislike the PDP 1-to-1 scale Lancer replica that I have? It's loud as shit. Do you dislike Tom Bissell as a writer? I do. It comes up all the time in this stream.
He's gone. He's gone! He's gone.
Do you think Gears of War is a bad video game series? I don't know who would have that opinion. It's kind of like a crazy opinion to have. It's kind of stupid to like hold that and be such a big fan of the series at the same time, but some people, I don't know who, some people out there just feel that way about the series. So, without further ado, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to Mild Crisp.
Yeah. I heard you the first time.
And hope you enjoy. Goodbye. I'd pick up a Lancer to make it like even more immersive, but those motherfuckers creak like hell. It just makes noise as you move around, and it's got shit like the chainsaw lever.
oh fuck!
It's like a door.
It sounds
It's
like,
like
an animal.
Yeah, it sounds like a bunch of chicks begging to die, man. It's impressive, but also at the same time, why? The LEDs. This is the coolest part, is that it lights up. But
With oh, there's something with with the lights that I think are so cool because it's strange to see. I think the lights are somehow correlated with people's vitals, unless that's just like a thematic thing that they do in like the cutscenes. Because you don't see them flash a whole bunch or anything, ever. But I feel like because there's a lot of stuff to go against that. In Gears of War 3,
there's a lot of
Marcus
scenes
is, like,
in 2 and 3 where like the lights turn off and on, but I always took that as like it normally happens after they like take a fall or something. I always took it as like the Lancer itself got banged up and that's what's causing the malfunction, not that it's like tied to their biosignature or something.
Like in Gears 3, Marcus wakes up and his like lights flash on like as he wakes up.
Yeah.
And then like whenever you kill that Brumach and like cut off its head, after like his head falls out of the helmet, then the lights turn off and stuff.
But then there's also the head getting severed from the body and then falling onto the floor.
Yeah, I would that's just not connected.
I would assume it's probably an aesthetic choice that like if you were going into it as a writer to be like, how do I justify this aesthetic choice? I would say it's attached to bio. But like that's not the initial thought that gets them to that aesthetic choice, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that. I know I have a little theory going on that I still have to justify. And
Lights light on Lasher in the rendezvous. Yeah, well, Marcus like loads up the Lancer in the rendezvous with Death trailer.
That trailer is one of the best trailers, if not the best trailer in the entire series. Gears of War 2 has the best trailers in the entire series.
I like Dust to Dust a lot.
Dust to Dust is awesome.
That one's great.
I think Rendezvous with Death might be like the best.
You know what I think is the best trailer that's like a launch trailer, not one of the cinematic trailers? The Gears of War 4 launch trailer.
Gears of War 4. Yup. Oh, that's
with
so
Lizzie's
good.
cover of Nothing Else Matters.
Yes.
That shit goes. I was so hyped for that game, watching that trailer over and over again, where I was like, I want to play this. And then it came out, and I was like, that was okay.
that trailer, you're talking about like the one with Kate, right?
I mean, it's got all the characters.
One, right?
No, the Gears 4 launch trailer. It like opens with like the slowness of Nothing Else Matters, and then it like the music kicks off in the scene where Marcus gets snatched.
In my head, for some reason, the one I was thinking what was one of the Gears 5 trailers, which for some reason I don't really see people talk about, even though it's a pretty fine trailer. Fuck, I can't remember what song was playing in it, but it was such a cool trailer for like Kate.
It is better than Metallica version.
I bet if you look up Gears 5 trailer, you could find it.
Are you talking about the cinematic one of Kate on the skiff?
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about. It's got Evanescence's cover of Fleetwood Mac's The Chain playing over it.
Yeah,
and she crashes through a giant statue of Mira. I do think it was cool. I kind of, by the time I had seen that trailer, I was sick and tired of The Chain because it felt like it was in everything because they used it in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 like a few years before that, and then immediately everything used The Chain. So by the time that trailer came out, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
It didn't wow me or anything.
I think you can give a little input on this one too. Oshi TV asks, what's your favorite map in the entire franchise? Or maybe top 5.
So, I've got an answer locked in.
One single. For number 1 map?
Dry Dock.
Already?
Yeah.
Dry Dock number 1 map?
Me and my best friend, when we would play Gears of War 3 after school from like 6th grade all the way through, basically when Gears 4 came out, every single day, it was the two of us, man-to-man, on Dry Dock. Every single time. I know that map like the back of my fucking hand. It was my favorite map when they brought it back in Gears 4. I am mourning forever that it got removed from Gears 5, but that is just my favorite map. I love the layout. I love the 3-lane, it's like a 3x3 grid layer of lanes, where it's like you have 3 lanes going horizontally and 3 lanes going vertically, I guess. It's kind of like a cube anyways. And then like the verticality that plays into that. Oh, hey, Steven, I was just talking about you. All of that plays into it with like the bridges that connect the 2 opposing sides on the top, the bridge on the bottom, or I guess like the little alleyway on the bottom thing. I love that map. It's great for Horde. It's great for Beast Mode. It's great for Versus. It's great for dueling. It's just a great fucking map. And I think it is my favorite Gears of War map. Whether because I think it's the best or because I just have that much nostalgia built into it, Who knows? But it is probably my favorite Gears of War map. It's the one I think of first every single time.
It's so hard to pick a favorite, but I think this one's like an obvious answer. I think Blood Drive might be one of the best maps in the entire series, just because of like it kind of connects all pieces while keeping them like separate with one another. And it forces you into fights once you see somebody in like said layer.
It's like 3 different battle zones. All
I think that might be like the best map in the series. I'm trying to think of my favorite.
I like Blood Drive for Guardian exclusively. For King of the Hill or for like Team Deathmatch, I hate Blood Drive because it becomes a match of like trying to push really hard, like control zones versus like Guardian when you play it like I was gonna say King of the Hill, but King of the Hill is the mode. But when you play it like it's 2 different hills, 2 different castles or whatever, that is fucking exhilarating. Especially in like Gears 4's version of Guardian, where like moving the Guardian moved around spawns, because that way you could push up through the map. I loved it. Hey, Checkout. Fuck you. That's a bad take. Hot take. Checkout's a good map. Yeah, fuck you. We love Checkout around here. I love Checkout.
I love Checkout. I think Reclaim might be my favorite map.
Reclaim. Is that the farm?
Yeah. I think that might be my favorite map. I've had bad matches on it. I've had good matches.
I don't hate Reclaim.
Yeah, I really love it.
Is there a worst Gears of War map? See, that's a more valid question, because I like a lot more of the maps than I hate them.
Gridlock is probably one of the worst maps in the gaming history.
One from Gears 1? It's not Gold Rush, but it's very similar. It's like the fuel...
I know what you mean. I know...
is it Process? I keep running into it when I was playing Gears of War Reloaded, and I was like, this is the worst map in the entire fucking series. I hate that. The layout is so Process. Buns. Okay. Yeah, that sounds right. I'm trying to think of any others that are kind of... There's a map in Judgment, the streets, whatever it's called, alleyways or just streets. That map is kind of buns.
That map is bun... I'm trying to remember... Yeah.
Because it's got a lot of overlapping entrances and exits that, like, if you're playing teams, it doesn't really matter. But, like, in, like, free-for-all, which those maps are kind of designed for, you get third-partied constantly on that map. It's nothing but third, if not fourth parties. It feels like you're playing Apex, and it sucks.
Oh, wait. Actually, I'm looking at the maps right now because I'm on Gears 4. Okay. Will you agree with me in saying that Gears of War 4 has the best selection of maps in the entire series?
It's close. I don't know. 4 loses points for me for the repeats. Like, Reclaim Windflare and Impact Dark kind of hurt, and, like, Harbor Haze.
Dude, so many of them, yeah.
There's 4 of them. No, because there's another one. There's 4.
I'll defend Reclaim Windflare, though. I'll reclaim...
I mean, that one, at least it has a gimmick where it's fun, kind of like Avalanche, kind of like Flood. But, like, Impact Dark, it's not even that much darker. It's just nighttime. Yeah, that's just an option in games like For Honor or whatever, where you pick the weather before you play the map. That's not even a different. It's not like if they did the thing in Impact Dark with like Bullet Marsh, where like you have street lamps or generators or whatever, and you could have Krill come in. Who gives a shit? It's a multiplayer map. You have like Krill come in or whatever, and like that is like a gimmick of the map that you add to it. Fuck yes, but as just Impact but nighttime. Get the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And I think, like, I like a lot of the... There's one map. What's, like, the temple? It's got, like, the big four-way cross. Relic. That map I really fuck with.
That map is super good.
All of its, like, original maps are fucking great. Especially compared to, like, Gears 5. Gears 5 has a lot of original maps that suck ass. Is it Panahu? Or whatever?
Yeah. Fucking Pahanu Village...
Village
Fira.
isn't as bad, but Ifira kind of sucks. Panahu, it definitely sucks because it's just wide. It's like a Battlefield map. Like, why do we have a Battlefield ass map in a Gears of War game? No. Plus, they baited everybody in the. They didn't do it on purpose, but like there was the one marketing person who included a Bushka as one of the assets when they did the Panahu season 3 trailer. Do you remember that? But like,
yeah.
I think it was season 3 of Gears 5. It was the season they introduced Clayton and Cole as characters. And they introduced Panahu as the map. And there's a clip during the trailer where Clayton, like, slides into cover, and he's holding a bushka. And everyone on the forums was going crazy because they're like, oh my god, they're adding the bushka as a weapon! Which, like, kind of correlated with a lot of the stuff. Gears 5 really loves Judgment. Like, it's fucking in love with Judgment as a game. It has all the Kilo Squad. It has the Kilo Squad, or like Omega Squad skins for Marcus and Dom, but not Dom's V-Day skin.
Yeah.
That game loves Judgment. It has a hard-on for Judgment, which kind of makes sense with, like, Tom Bissell writing it. But outside of Tom Bissell, I don't know any... I'm not familiar enough with the staff of the people who worked on Judgment and the people who were at TC during Gears 5 for it to have such strong connections with Judgment. Outside of the fact that, like, I guess Paddock was in the game, which I also hated. But regardless, there was a Bushka in it. I don't like Gears 5 Paddock. I like Paddock.
Oh, I see.
I hate the fact that, like, his ending sentiment at the end of Judgment is, you want to stay friends? Let's never see each other again. And then in Gears 5, he's like, oh yeah, I'm here. I'm just, like, grumpy. It's like, what? What are we doing? And, like, the whole time in Gears 5, you're doing missions for him, and he's talking about how... We haven't even gotten to the hot takes yet. We're 20 minutes in. The whole time you're doing missions for him in Gears 5, he's talking about how he wants to, like, keep his nomads alive and he wants to protect them. The second shit starts to go south, he leaves all the nomads behind and flies the helicopter for Delta Squad. He's not even a pilot. He takes it upon himself to fly the Raven and then crash it when they arrive at New Ephyra. Like, what?
Oh, I really gotta replay fucking Gears 5, get pissed off and bored at the same time.
I would even plug, guys, don't replay Gears 5. Go and watch my 5 years later Gears 5 video. Much better than playing the game all over again. It's a 10-hour campaign, and it is not worth the 10 hours. Maybe Hivebusters?
I was say 10-hour video. I was like, what
no,
do you have
I
to
could
fucking
never.
say about it?
See, that I hate. Okay, hot take about YouTubers. If your video is like a breakdown of something, and your video, say it's like a breakdown, I've seen so many videos where it's like a full, in-depth breakdown on The Last Jedi, and it's a 12-hour video. And it's like, dog, what the fuck do you have to say that you need to talk for 4 times longer than the fucking movie was? Shut up. Learn how to constrict your sentences and make them more concise into a smaller package. Because all that tells me is that you just ramble, which I do a lot, but I do that on stream, not as a part of a produced and scripted 12-hour fucking video.
Oh, especially when it's scripted, man. That shit pisses me off. Wait.
You good?
You gotta give a hot take right now.
Okay.
I'd be 30 minutes in.
My first hot take, that's not really a hot take, is I think Gears of War going forward with, like, E-Day trying to, like, reapproach that kind of... People call it horror. It's not even... It's, like, kind of, like, dark thriller to me. But I think Gears of War games going forward should steal a little bit of DNA from modern Resident Evil games, the remakes in 8 and 9 and 7, in the same way that Resident Evil had turned around to steal from Gears of War. Which is it's a revelation I came to when Resident Evil 9 had come out, where I saw a lot of people comparing Resident Evil 9 to Resident Evil 4, the original, where they're like, Resident Evil 4 perfected third-person shooting, and Resident Evil 9 is still doing it. And it's like, bitch, Resident Evil 4 doesn't even use the same style of aiming that you have in Resident Evil 9. The aiming that you get in games like Resident Evil 5 doesn't necessarily have it. It still has, like, that kind of tank control where you stop, aim, and, like, you're aiming around like you're in an arcade cabinet. I think Resident Evil 6 was the first one to have it.
Mm-hmm.
Freeze! And then going forward, Resident Evil 2 Remake, where it has the direct POV, like, ADSing lines up with the camera shooting that you have in Gears. Like, Gears of War did that first. Like, Resident Evil 4 was the first, like, over-the-shoulder third-person shooter, or at least the one that, like, popularized it and really blew it up. But the way Gears of War executed on that premise has stood the test of time, and now every third-person shooter that comes out today, even if they have kind of funky mechanics like The Last of Us or Helldivers, they still use that Gears of War style of ADSing into the reticle from where you're aiming, which includes the modern Resident Evil games. Long way to say that, like, Gears of War and Resident Evil have kind of both existed in this space where they're kind of a little bit goofy, kind of a little bit, like, horror action related, And I think Gears of War, instead of going in the direction that like 4 and then later 5 and Tactics took the series, like tonally and gameplay wise, they should take it down a notch and focus more on something that like not necessarily ripping off Resident Evil, but kind of has that more hectic, close quarters feeling that you get when you're like going through RPD in Resident Evil 2. I think that would do great for the franchise.
Do you think they should start restricting movement in Gears of War? So kind of like how in Gears 1 where you had like a stamina bar, a hidden stamina bar?
Yeah.
Do you think they should have some sort of like limit
If
for
it ties into the enemies. So say like my biggest complaint with Gears of War's enemies is that they just take cover, they shoot at you, they move closer, they take cover, they shoot at you. In like a game like Resident Evil where all the enemies have to get up to you, or you're being chased by an unkillable enemy like Mr. X, the whole point of your character having stamina and being able to run and being able to dodge away from the characters is because you're putting distance in between you and them. In Gears, movement doesn't necessarily mean anything outside of just positioning yourself in further away cover to shoot the enemies from further away as they get closer to you. So like Gears of War's enemy philosophy and like the philosophy that goes into designing enemies functionally and mechanically would have to entirely change for me to be on board with like a limiting factor in that way. Because otherwise you have exactly what Gears is, but now you have like a bottleneck for when you need to get out of the way because you're playing on Insane and the Grenadier is just going to make a beeline for you.
Yeah.
And that's just not fun.
I know what you mean. Ushi Games, or Ushi TV asks here, do you think they should get rid of the Nasher meta in E-Day and start with something fresh?
Oh, in multiplayer? No. I'm a Nasher purist. I love Nasher gameplay when it feels good. I think they should move away from trying to cater to like a super hyper competitive esports audience, and they should just focus on making the game fun. Even if that does include Nasher plays and wall bouncing and shit like that. If it's fun to play, it's fun to play. The issue with Gears 4 and 5 is they kind of prioritized this idea or this concept of balance and competitiveness rather than focusing on just making it fun to play. And that, I think, ruined the experience. Versus, like, you look at a game like Gears 1, Gears 2, Gears 3, the Nasher being, like, such a prevalent thing is kind of a meta that was born of player expression. Versus, like, in Gears 4 and 5, they tried to cater towards it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Especially in 5, where everything is so underpowered, and the shotgun is really, like, the only way to go unless you're picking up a power weapon. I forgot who I was talking to, but they said I was like tripping on that. They said that like the Lancer was too strong in 5. I don't know when that guy was playing, but
sometime like halfway through the game's life cycle, it flipped. Because I do remember when the game came out, especially in specific modes like arcade, the Lancer had incredible stopping fire. If you were running down range of a Lancer, you would just stop moving essentially until you went down and died.
And absolute homunculus Philly says, should Gears of War E-Day be turn-based? Yes.
Go back to tactics.
Turn-based, but still third-person shooter, actually.
Oh! Huh. You know what?
Wait,
there is
I may be onto something.
This is a game that exists. You have Warhammer 40k Necromunda, which is obviously a recreation of Games Workshop's Necromunda tabletop game. It is essentially a turn-based game, but you play it from the perspective of third person behind each of your units. So instead of like the tactics view where you're way up ahead of the board, you get down close and personal, and you like control your units kind of in a third-person shooter kind of way, but each unit takes its turn one at a time. I don't know necessarily if it would play like that, or if you just have tactics, but it's up close.
I'm gonna have to look up gameplay for that. That sounds cool.
I would fuck with it if it was just tactics again, but you had the option to like zoom in the camera real close, like how you could do in City Skylines or The Sims, you know, where you can go into first-person mode.
Oh yeah.
If you could go into like Gears classic view in tactics and you could like see exactly which enemies you can aim at, it might piss people off because you would get down to third-person view and you would be like, if I was playing Gears of War like the actual game right now, I would kill that drone. I am in clear line of sight and I can shoot him from here with a Lancer. Why has the Lancer got a 32% chance to hit? That doesn't make any fucking sense.
That shit pisses me off. I get a 98% chance to hit, and I'll miss a crit.
But that would be a fun addition for Tactics 2, which I don't think we're gonna get because the Tactics team went to work on a Transformers third-person shooter that, as far as I know, has gone into development hell. So I don't think we're getting Tactics 2 anytime soon.
That shit does sound dope.
Transformers third-person shooter. They worked.
Yeah.
Splash Damage worked on the multiplayer for 4 and 5, so you would have a third-person Transformers shooter that would ostensibly play like Gears of War to some extent. And that sounds dope as shit.
Yeah, what the
But that's
fuck?
never going to happen. Cliff said
Let's see
Gears
it.
is a gritty, realistic game. Yeah, but Cliffy B is kind of stupid. I don't like Cliff's opinions on anything. What you say?
I see this take, and I'm just gonna say it in the most inflammatory way possible. The Swarm are
2.
cooler than the Locust, by all means.
Conceptually, yeah.
Yeah, conceptually.
Far and ahead, yeah.
I think they're scarier than the Locust by a long shot. I don't think when I was a kid, I was scared of like opening my door and seeing a grenadier in my room. But
Locust
like that was just like me as a kid.
are scary because they come out of nowhere and they either kill you or they torture you and turn you into a prisoner. The Swarm gore you, vor you, and turn you into a juvie. I can't even imagine how it feels to, because I can't imagine they like put you under anesthesia. Like the process of becoming a juvie has to be incredibly painful.
Yeah, you pretty much you melt and disintegrate in real time.
Yeah, it's like Alien, but instead of a chest burster, you become the whole pod.
I think to get back onto your point earlier, where like Gears 1, what was it? Like Gears 1 wasn't necessarily like horror.
Yeah, I don't consider
nothing
it horror.
scary happens in like Gears 1. Like yeah, like the palette is kind of there.
It's
The
just
palette is
gray
kinda
because it's
there.
old too. Like
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 looks the same, and that was a year earlier. But like people call Gears of War 1 like an atmospheric horror game, but there's just like a few haphazardly placed jump scares, and it's really dark, and it's got like a kind of grim aesthetic, but it's not like horror in the way something like Dead Space is. It's horror in the way that like Call of Duty Zombies is, where it's like Call of Duty Zombies isn't horror, but like the atmosphere going on there kind of immerses you in this very like not gritty but like depressing setting.
Yeah, I think Gears 1, or I guess for like even the Locust, the only Locust that exists that can be seen as like spooky scary are the Wretches. Other than that,
the
everything
Berserkers,
else
when you
just kind of like crashes.
The Berserkers are scary exactly once, and then the first time you go through a Berserker fight, they're never scary ever again.
Because you realize that the second you hit them with the flamethrower, they sit there for fucking
that
5
too.
minutes.
And it's like the same thing as like Mr. X and Nemesis and like all those stalker enemies from Resident Evil, where it's like, oh, it's scary when you don't know how it works, and then the second you're like, oh, you can't walk into this room, I'm just gonna walk in here and ignore you. And it's like, okay,
yeah,
all the fear is gone.
Yeah, I think fear is kind of like the same as like difficulty or something like that. Because like boss fights can be hard, but if it's like the corpse or boss fight in Gears 1 where it kind of does nothing until it opens its legs and you shoot it in
easiest
the eye.
level in all of Gears 1 and insane.
I think the scary concepts and the horror in Gears of War 4 in terms of like what's actually happening is far more, I guess, like impressive.
I think the closest the
it.
Locust get to conceptually like cosmically horror as the Swarm is the Lambent in Gears 3, which you don't even necessarily pick up. Like it's not explicitly shown to us as the audience until halfway through the game by the time we get to Mercy, because like for the first half of the game, it's like, oh, I guess humans are it's like a thing that affects Locust, but not humans. And then it's like, oh, this literally is affecting everything. And that is a bit more horrifying than the Locust could ever be. Because the Locust is just big, gray lizard alien.
You got the drones, you got the fishies. It's getting people now. Like literally, the like just like Adam said, like the whole planet's infected. I love that word too, like infected. Oh my god. It's like so much more real. And if we wanna do like the biggest hot take here, I don't know. Do we want to rip the Band-Aid off the Gears 1 hot take?
Do you think my Gears 1 take is the spiciest thing here. I think the very last one is probably spicier than Gears 1.
Let's save the Gears 1 one for a little bit. You can bring up that last one though.
Oh yeah, I've talked about this before on stream when I've ranted about Gears 4. Marcus Phoenix should have died in Gears of War 4, and that should have been the moment that pushes JD to go in his, like, kind of starting on his dark streak, and then you could carry that forward into Gears 5. But I think the Coalition don't have the writing chops, specifically Tom Bissell doesn't have the writing chops, nor do they have the fucking balls to kill a character. Like, they couldn't even kill anyone in Gears 5. Paddock gets a fake out death. The Coltrane gets a fake out death. Jack the Robot gets a fake out death. Queen
Jack
Reyna.
gets a fake death?
Jack's gonna come back. He's not dead. He's died twice before.
I thought you meant like he did come back. I thought I was forgetting something.
No.
Yeah, no.
But he's coming back. Like, that's not a death that means... There's all this melancholy music that plays as Jack gets himself killed. And it's like, this motherfucker has died twice already. I don't care about the robot. I don't care about the robot dying. They're just gonna build a new one.
But you got to admit, Jack was the most impactful death in Gears of War 5. Gears of War 4 and 5.
I think it's the only death that exists. Is there another character that dies?
Gary Carmine.
Lizzie dies in 5.
Reyna, Lizzie. Yeah.
Lizzie isn't impactful because you meet her 5 minutes before she dies. So it's like, she's kind of important because she's a Carmine, but she doesn't have time to introduce herself as a character outside of a singular 10-second cutscene when she smashes the Snatcher on a truck. But, like, as a character, she doesn't have motivations or flaws or character. She's kind of just a face with, like, a charismatic thing, which is what almost every single Gears of War character is. Explicitly in the games, for sure. In the novels or whatever, if you want to get more literary and say there's more genuine arcs and stuff, thanks to writers like Karen Travis carrying those books, I can concede that. But in the games, I think Dom has a character arc, and that's about it.
Yeah, that's true.
Prescott and Adam get character arcs, but they're both off screen.
Oh man, with Marcus's death,
yeah.
Do you think it would have happened if they didn't get to the pod fast enough, or do you, in your ideal story, would it happen like after, like more near the end?
No, I think it should have happened exactly as it was, but instead of him gargling and then just coming back to life miraculously, and after the fake out, just have him die. I think him dying in a way that is kind of... This is where I say people are going to think it's like a hot take because they want Marcus to go out a big blaze of glory. He's got to go down fist fighting a character like Rom and get stabbed through the chest and like go down fighting like a warrior. The dude's like 65 years old. The Swarm are supposed to be scarier than the Locust. If they show up, specifically you would have to rewrite the scene where Marcus gets snatched to where it's not just Marcus getting hit out of left court randomly by a snatcher. It should be something like Marcus and JD's tension causes JD to fuck up getting Marcus captured, and then when they go find Marcus and he's dead, JD now has to carry the fact that he basically got his dad killed.
Yeah.
And that gets to be JD's character arc, is that he killed the most legendary character in the entire fucking universe, and he got kind of a wimpy death because of JD's fuckery. And that means when you do go down the path of trying to give JD a redemption arc, it will pay off even more because he has to make up for that literally generational mistake.
Like you literally have to fill Marcus's shoes after that.
Literally, yeah. But I don't think the Coalition's staff, at least the staff that existed, again, Tom Bissell, during 4 and 5, or any of the producers, had either the stones or the chops to make that work effectively. But I think it can be done. And it should have been done. For like a more interesting, more engaging story. Because the stories of 4 and 5 are incredibly cliche. They're incredibly bare bones. There's like less story going on in Gears 5 than there was in like the first Gears of War game. Which Gears of War 1's story quits halfway through. Like, the first half of Gears of War 1 is setting up the resonator, and then immediately after you do the resonator, they're like, oh yeah, by the way, that didn't work. We're going to do something else. And it's like, we spent
Yeah.
3 chapters, over half the game, setting up the resonator, and you're just like, oh yeah, by the way, go to Marcus's dad's house. There's the MacGuffin. It's like, what? What are you talking about? And Baird just happened to find it on a piece of machine, like, lying around in the fucking cave? What are you talking, like to me that screams so hard that like they didn't have the concept of Marcus's dad being connected to the Locust until they were already really far into production, where they were like, oh, this is a really cool idea. How do we bridge what we've already made into this new direction we want to take the story? Baird finds a device that tells them that the actual data they need is in Marcus's dad's house. And then they don't even elaborate on Adam's connection to the Locust until the end of Gears of War 3. And even then, Adam doesn't necessarily elaborate on it. He's just like, hey, Baird, take my floppy disk. And that's it.
Yeah.
There's so many like plot threads throughout the entire series, old trilogy, the newer stuff, whatever, that just goes nowhere, is refused elaboration, and services nothing but the pure engine of getting characters from point A to point B so they can shoot ugly monsters on the way there. And that's like the entire series in a nutshell.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And that's what sucks, because the characters are genuinely charismatic. There is a lot of heart poured into making these characters unique and have like these really strong personalities, but it kind of leaves you with like a cast of characters that's like any hero shooter. You know, all the characters in Overwatch or Apex or whatever have really strong personalities, but they don't go anywhere because there's no story for those characters to actually do stuff, you know?
I know whenever I speak to some people who like used to play Gears back in the day and just kind of played the games, I'll like mention something that the character does in the books, and they're like, yeah, I can't even imagine like Marcus doing that. I can't even imagine like these characters outside of like holding a lancer and like chainsawing.
Yeah, Marcus
Like,
sitting
I
like
can't imagine like Marcus and Adam having a conversation, awkward conversation around the dinner table.
There's like the few panels in Baron where Marcus, Dom, and Anya are like hanging out at the bar, or maybe I don't know if Anya's there. Maybe it's just Alex. They're like hanging out at the bar, and like seeing Marcus and Dom sitting down in like flannel t-shirts, throwing back some Bud Light. It just looks weird.
Yeah, it feels like weird as hell.
Especially because like throughout the games, Dom is Marcus is Dom's best friend. Dom is not Marcus's best friend. There's so many times in the games, like when you first meet Cole, where they're having a conversation. Dom's like, "Oh, remember like we used to watch Coltrane on the TV?" And Marcus is like, "I remember you owed me $20." And then that's it. He's like, he doesn't want to talk about their friendship or what they used to do before the war or anything else going on. Marcus is just so to the point and so all business that even when it comes to him being alone with his best friend, his like brother in arms, his brother in blood, brothers to the end, when they get to like Nexus at the highway, and Dom has that big moment of like, I gotta go find my wife. And Marcus throughout the entire game has been like, we're gonna find Maria. If you die, I'll go look for Maria on your behalf. And when they finally get to the part where they can detour to go get Maria, Marcus is like, but think about the mission, Dom. And it's like, dude, you're supposed to be his brother in arms to the end. And the first thing you say is, but think about the mission, Dom. Like, no.
They were right there though, like the highway to Nexus. That was kind of like the mission point right there. If they were like at the very entrance, like just drilled down there and just got out of their fucking drill, and then they wanted to look for Maria, I would have believed it.
Maybe, but like. Also, they knew that the highway wasn't there. They still had to travel on the highway some distance to get to the actual Nexus itself. So it is a detour down to the slave camps and then back up to the highway.
I don't know. Even just like making it to like that Cantus area, or like that little like palace, the palace entrance. I feel like even making it there, I'd have to be like, Dom, I understand you want to find Maria, but we're right here. I would just be under the assumption that I'm at someplace important. It's not just like the Hollow anymore, you know?
I understand that. Like,
maybe that's looking too far into it.
I clearly understand
sure
that logically, and like from a pure mission-oriented message. I would consider that as like a valid response coming from a character like Kim, or Clayton Carmine, or Victor Hoffman, or somebody like that. But for Marcus Phoenix, Dom's
I feel like the only reason
brother
they did that
to
was
the
so
end.
Dom can can kind of like call him out.
Maybe, but like, it just makes Marcus look like a piece of shit to me, and I can't get over that. It's like the thing in Baron where Alex confronts Marcus when she was like, "I was raped by the state since I was 12 years old," and Marcus is like, "You either kill grubs or make people. You got to do what you got to do." And it's like, Marcus, what the fuck are you saying? What the fuck is that? What is that sentence, dude? Shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? This is
That's
not
the worst fucking thing. You could have
No!
possibly said.
You don't say you gotta do what you... No, Marcus! Shut up!
He's not even
And,
like
like-
a government over the people type of guy. Either.
No, every single time he talks about the cog, it is with pure contempt. And when there comes a time for him to condemn the cog for molesting underage children for the sake of breeding them like cows, he goes, "You gotta do what you gotta do." And it makes no sense for his character. And it makes him feel like a bad person.
I feel like it's mainly like the comic thing where like everybody has a different iteration of Spider-Man.
See, I would say that,
thinks Spider-Man's different, you know?
but a lot of those comics were written by Joshua Ortega, who also wrote Gears of War 2. Where, like, Gears of War 2 still has, like, Marcus's first line when they get into Landdown is like,
You think we'd have launched this assault years ago?
I'm sure the COG had their reasons, just probably weren't good ones.
where, like, he's got this, like, clear contempt for the cog, even all the way through Gears 2. Do you know, like, the joke of, like, Captain America appearing in a Captain America comic versus Captain America appearing in an X-Men comic?
Where Spider-Man in his own comics is usually a lot more like more so happy-go-lucky or emotional,
Yeah.
and then in somebody else's comic, he's like extremely serious and like a terrifying threat.
Kind of, yeah. There's like a thing in Captain America, if he shows up at his own thing, it's kind of like the MCU movies where he's like, the government's corrupt, I gotta fix it from the outside or whatever. And then he shows up in an X-Men comment and he's like, "You X-Men are equivalent to illegal immigrants. You're coming with me." And it's like, Captain America, what are we doing here? That's kind of how it feels with Marcus, where like in the games, he's like, "I'm not doing this for you."
I'm not doing this for you.
And then in the comics, he's like, sometimes you just gotta rape children, you know, you gotta do what you gotta do. And it's like, what the fuck are we doing, man?
To be fair, there's a presidential election every 4 years that could have something to do with his opinions on stuff. The DOJ changes, and the Captain America has to change his thing.
He has to, like, take a new program. But also, like, even further than that, like, I understand the argument that there's, like, so many different people. Like, that's the thing for Star Wars, right? Where there's, like, a million extended universe books, all written by, like, a different author who gave George Lucas $2,000 for the rights to make a Star Wars, for the license to make a Star Wars book. I understand how that gets, like, discombobulated and totally unorganized. Gears of War has, 12 comics? 20 maybe? 6 books?
Yeah.
Maybe up to 10, including all the new ones and stuff like that. There's not a lot of extended media for Gears. And what extended media is out there is not necessarily that much. Like, the Gears of War books, not that they're, like, tiny dime books, but they're not, like, massive Brandon Sanderson novels. Same with the comics. None of the comics are, like, a big, Invincible omnibus-sized comic run. They're, like, a 10-page comic run, or it's a series of 5 comics that are each 10 pages. So it's like, that doesn't necessarily smooth it over for me, where it's like, there is so little Gears of War extended media out there that if it's your job to coordinate, it's like what I was talking about earlier about, like, the narrative director talking about, like, well, we needed an enemy to fulfill this purpose, so we just had this other enemy fulfill this purpose without actually, like, building the narrative foundation and scaffolding that would justify within the lore of the game for this to happen and take precedent. Where it's just like, if your job is to keep characters consistent and to try and, like, build an arc that carries through a trilogy, you should be up to date on the 20 comics that exist. Even less so if you're talking about comics that include, like, a specific character or whatever, right?
Yeah, I think Karen Travis did a really good thing at, like, not playing or watching anything about certain media when writing books on it. I read something that she did it. She does that as, like, a writing practice because if the event and the storyline isn't emotional when you're not connected to the characters, then it's probably just not that good of a storyline, or not that good of a moment, or something like that. I feel like if she played the games or like knew Marcus in like Gears of War 1 and 2 before writing the books, we would have a completely different Marcus in the books. I feel like just giving her the world and what the character should be,
Yeah.
that made her write some really good characters. Like I'm really bad with like confrontation a lot of the times. Obviously everybody is, but like instead of like getting angry or something like that, it more so feels awkward.
Yeah.
And she fills that. She makes Marcus fill that role like very good, in a lot of circumstances. Like in the slab when Marcus is talking to Adam, and ironically, a lot of this happens with Adam in the room, and in Asphalt Fields when Marcus is disagreeing with Adam on like joining the army or going to college and stuff like that to join the army.
Yeah.
Reading those makes me want to like crawl out of my skin a little bit. Like she's so good at like making awkward scenes awkward, especially for a character like Marcus or something. She did amazing with that.
Marcus would be an awkward motherfucker to hold a conversation with.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I was going with that. I think that even without playing the games, she gave a really decent explanation for why Marcus acts the way he does, like in game, where he doesn't talk and stuff like that. The only person he really had was Dom, and even in the books, he doesn't even like speak to Dom like heart to heart normally. Like Dom literally has to pry it out of Marcus to speak.
Brothers to the end.
Yeah. Brothers to the end. I gotta pry it out of you, Marcus.
Yeah.
But I think that makes a really cool dynamic where Dom knows something's up with Marcus, but Marcus literally like won't show it, or won't say it. And Absolute Homunculus Philly says, "What was Adam Phoenix on the island?" Adam Phoenix was on Prescott Island. You think Prescott had an island?
At least as far as 10 years into the war? Fuck yes he did. What are you talking about? The COG? The corrupt... If the COG are doing it and it's just like an open... It's not like a secret. Like when Delta Squad shows up to the Jelaine crash, it's not like everyone goes, oh my god, they were breeding women? They're like, yeah, it's a crash. It's just a thing they know about. Of course they had secret islands. Of course they did.
It's
like
Prescott Village.
Yeah, it's Prescott Manor and Co. It's just like down the road from the Jacinto Hospital that you start at in Gears 2.
The Jacinto Hospital, it fucking takes some of the babies.
The shit that goes on, I would expect like Niles in New Hope to be more caring with like the children of the miners they experimented on than whoever the fuck is in charge of like the COG Parliament or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, but Miles not Niles at least fucking probably said one of them was fascinating at one point.
Yeah, he was like, "Oh, you have beautiful eyes," and then he cuts their head off, and it's like, you know what? That's better than being Epstein, you know.
You think Prescott would be friends with Epstein?
Yeah. What are you talking about? Yeah. Yeah. Prescott is basically like, he's kind of like, to me, he's kind of Obama, where like he's very charismatic, but that motherfucker is bombing children overseas constantly, all the time. And he comes out and he gives a good speech and he rallies people, and then he turns around and he's like, all right, that hospital, that school, that playground, hit it, good, let's go home. And it's like, dude, what the fuck?
And then Marcus is on a podcast. He's like, did he literally say that? I don't think he literally said that, okay? I don't think he literally
Red Hat Marcus?
said that he hates the marginalized.
Would Marcus wear a red hat, or would he get a red bandana?
Marcus, he has to answer these questions. I'll get him on.
Dom, you don't get it. Dom, it's in the rust lung vaccine. Dom, they're trying to turn us into grubs. Dom,
take the Rust-Lung vaccine they'll control your mind later on. Dom.
Dom's been dead for a long time. He's just staring at like the tomatoes in Gears of War 4.
He's like, Dom, there's GMOs in this. Why'd you give me your tomatoes full of GMOs? Dom.
That motherfucker would be psychotic.
There is no like social media in Gears either, I don't think.
There isn't until there's like the news.
But there's no like there's no like phones.
Yeah, no, I don't.
Everything
think so.
is like strangely. It's like kind of like sci-fi, but also like cassette retrofuturism, where they have like the big bulky Macintosh computers and things like that, and like kind of like analog cybernetic tech at the same time.
I'm just gonna bring this idea to kind of like throw it out there, and then we can move on to the next hot take.
Okay.
The son of the first minister joins the COG and goes AWOL. If Baird was actually covering it up, then that means that a son of the COG actually literally went missing and nobody knows where he is.
They would do some shit like in The Boys where they're like, oh, we didn't kill Noir or whatever. He's on vacation in Malibu. It's top secret. He's doing a mission. You're not allowed to know. It's classified.
This is son of war hero, son of first
They
minister.
literally put his last name on all of the logos where they adopt the Phoenix onto everything in the new era. His last name is literally the logo now.
Yeah, I feel like there should be like a grand conspiracy about like what happened to JD Phoenix.
Yeah. Plus, there's like not that what I remember Rod saying when Gears of War 4 was coming out, where he was like estimating, where he's like, there was probably like 100,000 people alive at the end of Gears 3, and it's like that's not like a small amount, but like that's a decent
JD probably knew half of them personally.
metropolis. He probably didn't know them personally, whatever, but like out of those 100,000 people, like they knew who he was. They had to have. The son of like the minister, of the son of the guy whose name they took as namesake of the government, or as like logo sake, iconography's sake of the government. They know who the fuck he is. It would be incredible if they didn't. If they're like, if he's like, oh, I'm JD Phoenix, and you're like, Phoenix, where did I hear that before? And they're like standing right in front of like a giant Phoenix cog statue. And they're like, huh, I've never heard Phoenix before. I don't know what you're talking about, man. Oh, you mean with the FE? Oh, see, I was thinking you were talking about the Phoenician Phoenix, which doesn't exist in this universe, but you know it has the PHEO spelling. I prefer that one, honestly. I don't really like the Phoenix font.
Yeah, I don't know this fucking guy, but Marcus Phoenix, yeah, I love that guy. So next hot take. Let me see. Let me look at it. Let me look at them. Oh, here's a hot take. The books and the novels and like the comics and stuff, none of them should be turned into games.
Yeah.
Unless you're okay with like changing the lore.
Well, they are doing that. They're doing that for E-Day because they're changing the scenes of Marcus, Dom, Padrick, and Ty inventing the Lancer.
Supposedly. We don't know that yet.
We don't know if they do. There's going to be a weird time skip, but I don't know how you fit that into Gears of War's traditional 5-act structure. Because if you include the Asphalt Fields Carlo moment, all of E-Day, and like going through that, and Dom losing his family in Kelowna, and then his extended family or whatever, I guess, his children. I guess they're kind of important. And then like
extended family, yeah, his two sons.
Then skipping, and you know his mother-in-law, his father-in-law. And then Maria. Well, Maria doesn't go missing until after the hammer strikes, right? But then you have to skip a year forward, or I guess you don't even have to do that because Judgment already kind of soft retcon, and Tactics did too, where they're walking around with lancers during the hammer strikes. So it's not even necessarily that they have to skip a year of the future. I guess maybe they do it somewhat earlier
they
on.
could probably just like go ahead like a week and a half and say like yeah, remember Judgment? Yeah, we actually made the shit 1 week.
Yeah, they came up with that the first week of the war, actually, not a year into the war. Which I don't know. I guess that kind of makes it doesn't make sense how they would get it through production that quickly, but it makes sense that they would realize the bayonets aren't that useful a week into the war when they lost 1 billion people, or no, they lost like 3 billion people already. Versus like a year into the war, going like, man, these bayonets suck. Can we replace them with something else?
Yeah, that's such a weird fucking thing because like
I
feel like day one you'd realize that knives wouldn't work.
That's like a very clear thing of like they did Gears of War 1, it's 14 years later, and when they're doing the retroactive lore, they're like, when would they we know they had the retro, when would they have invented the chainsaw for the Locust? Like a year into the war, you know. And it's like, well,
4 suspiciously placed chainsaws,
like when it's
like, ready for the players to grab.
When it's on a timeline and you're like, okay, E-Day happens, a year later they invent the Lancer, cool, whatever, that's fine. But then like when you actually get to the nitty-gritty of it and you're like, oh, they were just running around with these shitty ass bayonets for a whole year, losing people left and right before they were like, oh, maybe we should try something else.
Maybe the idea of a chainsaw on a gun was like too much or something.
Adam, not Adam. Who's the other guy? Is it something Estrom?
Who is
But I imagine that guy as like running around the weapon research office with just like a chainsaw in one hand that he can't control, and then like an assault rifle in the other, being like, "What if we slap these together?" And Adam Phoenix is like, "No, we need to think of something seriously." And then he gets a call from Marcus where Marcus is like, "Hey, Dad, chainsaws super effective." And Adam goes, "You know what?" And he like turns to the other guy and he's like, "I think if we put a chainsaw on the gun, that'll be really effective." And the guy's just staring at him with just a blank face, like
writes a blueprint.
like, dude, I was just telling you about my idea to slap a chainsaw on it. And Adam's like, no, I came up with this on my own. It starts like drawing on a chalkboard. Is it Neville? It is Neville. Okay, thank you.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Because it's similar to Niles, but it's Neville.
Whenever I think of Neville, I think about the guy from iCarly. So maybe it was in my head, but I never correlated the two. Yeah, like back to that point. I don't think there's enough action in the books or anything to warrant a game. There's like way too much talking, and we already see like what they would do to the lore if they were to turn stuff into games with the beginning of Gears of War 4.
Gears of War games are too short, and they don't manage their time enough to warrant like a lengthy narrative. We're not talking about a game like God of War, where you have lots of expanses where Kratos and Atreus can talk about the plot and talk about them as characters and talk about the world and just talk and have a narrative going on. You have Marcus and Dom walk into a room, go, "Ah, shit, grubs!" They kill all the grubs. They move on to the next room. They're like, "Oh, shit, grubs!" They kill all the grubs. They move to the next room. They're like, "Oh, shit, Rom!" And they kill Rom, and then game over. Like, there is no time in between like, the combat arenas.
Like 3 sentences to one another or something.
You get, like, those encounters, like, when you're going through the Hollow for the first time, right after Denizens, where, you pick up Carmine, and he's like, "One of my bunkmates said that the Locust came from the moon," and Marcus is like, "That's dumb as shit, kid."
This one guy in Basic, he thought they were from Risea or one of the moons, and that they feed on emulsion.
They can eat shit and die for all I care.
And then they just move on. And it's like, that's kind of an interesting tidbit, but I would like to hear you guys talk more about the world.
Really? You believe in the moon, Carmine?
We all know it's flat, Sarah.
Well, how come the cog hasn't been back to it in 80 years?
It turns out that Adam Phoenix didn't want Marcus to stay out of the army because he was scared for his safety. He wanted Marcus to pursue higher education because he was really fucking stupid. He was really in denial of reality and science. And Adam was just looking at this kid. He was reading the all F's down the report card. F, 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 F. And he was like, this kid has to go to like some sort of remedial school at least.
Okay, I'll use all my money and funds to put Marcus into college. He needs it.
Yeah, and Marcus is like, "I'm gonna go shoot indies, Dad."
Oh, speaking of indies,
yeah,
one of your hot takes as well.
Oh yeah, you can't
the
do
UIR
enemies
storyline in game would probably be not good because there's not really a face to the UIR.
Yeah, you would have to invent that face, and then you walk a very tight line of, like, you either have to go all in on COG propaganda and make the UIR unfettering evil assholes, or you have to make the UIR somewhat sympathetic. But I don't, again, with, like, the thing about killing Marcus and stuff, I don't think Gears of War is the kind of game that has the chops to do, like, a narrative introspection on, like, opposing sides of war. I feel like Avatar with Zuko and Aang did that better than Gears of War ever could.
I think the whole act of trying to make the Locust some sort of sympathetic villain, like in Gears 5, is probably one of the worst things that they ever could have done.
I didn't get that they're sympathetic in 5. Maybe, like, their foundation, like, Mira is sympathetic partially.
Yeah. Because, like, in Gears of War,
it undercuts their literal genocide.
Yeah. Fucking what you call it? Before Gears of War 5, I don't think there was a single mention in any piece of media that mentions Mira hating humans because of, like, a kid or anything like that. Fucking,
yeah, she just hates them.
Like, honestly, I don't even know if she, like, hates them before the war or anything.
Well, we never get
how it
anything of
was.
her from before the war. We only get her
Yeah.
mid sinking cities and full genocide, where she's like, "Fuck humans, we're gonna take over," and it's like, okay, no.
Yeah, I think that's much more of an interesting villain.
I
Because
think it's less interesting, but it's not as messy.
It's definitely not as messy.
Yeah.
A bit more interesting because she does mention that she has a relationship with Adam Phoenix, and since she doesn't necessarily say that she hates humans, in like Gears of War 1, she mentions like the folly of humans. In Gears of War 2, she mentions like the folly of humans. But in Gears of War 3, she has lines like "My people have a right to this world." So it more so feels, at least in Gears of War 3, like a necessary evil. Like the Landmen are taking over the Hollow, so you have to survive, and to survive,
Yeah.
we have to take over the surface.
They play the Israel defense by the end of Gears 3. So this is something I was thinking about. Talking about Gears of War 1, I don't actually know the not analysis, like the meta narrative underneath of. I know the Queen's voice is in Gears of War 1, but I don't know if you're like looking at the actual script of the game, if it's directed as like Mira or Queen of Locust or whatever, or if it's just supposed to be like a foreboding voice that speaks on behalf of the Locust, and then
I think
it
it's
turned
supposed
into
to be
the
Mira.
Queen. Like, obviously now it's supposed to, like, it's retroactively made into Mira, but like with Gears of War 1 and like the ending where it's like we don't see, like in Ultimate Edition they changed that to show Mira.
Oh wait, yeah,
but in the
that
original
wasn't
game
Mira in
it's
the
just
original. It was just
a
the Theron, right?
well, the Theron is the one that's watching them fly away, but you still
Yeah.
have Mira's, at least the actress that plays Mira, her narration over the top of it, but it's just a regular Theron. That's why I'm saying, like, I don't know if Mira was like an intended character right from the get-go, or if she was sort of like a disembodied voice that kind of represented the universe as a whole and to some extent the Locust. And then they decided to go like, what if we just made the Locust Queen a person?
Yeah, now that you mention it, maybe Mira wasn't a thought like at all.
Yeah,
until
that's sort
Gears
of like
War
I would
2.
have to see what the script call. I don't know if there's any existence of like the original Gears of War script
Oh wait, no,
out there.
because we have that part where she's speaking to Rom. Yeah, it's in the original Gears 1. Also,
Oh, when
I
he's
don't
killing
know-
Kim, huh?
Yeah,
She's
yeah,
like directing
when he's
over
killing
him.
Kim, yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, no. A lot of people think that that's like hive mind right there. That's not hive mind. That's not. I will put my life down on that. That like
Mira was inspired by Galadriel from Lord of the Rings. That I see. I can believe that 100%.
I feel like I'm gonna make a video on this later on. The Locusts were never a hive mind. Never until Gears of War 3 Rom Shadow, where they probably thought it was like a cool idea or something like that.
There's
But-
before Rom Shadow, the spotters have a description of their characters in Gears of War 3 that says they're able to communicate with the Queen. I don't know if it necessarily mentions telepathically, but it says they're like able to communicate with the Queen in some way. So it at some level they are at least like telepathic.
Would it be hard to assume that they have like tatcoms just like the humans?
I mean, it wouldn't be hard to assume, but it's like something about the spotter specifically. I'd have to look it up.
Wouldn't you assume a sniper probably has like some sort of walkie directly towards like a commander or something? Like if their whole goal was just like recon, it could easily just be like processed differently. I see so many things say that Queen Mira talking to Rom in Gears of War 1 when he's killing Min, that's not hive mind. Nothing in that scene indicates hive mind except a disembodied voice. But then,
Well,
if that were the
also,
case-
there's a difference between hive mind and the Queen having like omnipotence over the Locust. Because the hive mind would imply that she's also controlling each of the Locusts independently. But I think it's more so. You think kind of like ants,
I don't
where
think
they
she
like
has
lay.
omnipotence either.
I mean, there's all sorts of weird, magical, mystical shit going on in Gears. That it's not a far stretch for me to imagine that, like how the Cantus do their healing
There
shit.
is, but you would have to question why she let so many locusts die without giving them a single warning. With everything that's happened to the Hollow, and then both in Gears of War 1 and Gears of War 2, and then you would have to talk about the fact that she was literally using an intercom to speak to locusts in Gears of War 2.
Fuck you! We gonna whoop your mama's ass! Wow!
And like hype them up and stuff like that. Like
Yeah.
people will jump through hoops and say that, oh yeah, she has a hive mind. They're all connected through a hive mind, but like it's so much strain on Mira that she actually chooses to only use the hive mind sometimes, and then she only chooses to use the hive mind on certain people. That's why the drones act like drones and Rom acts like Rom. And also when they're in the hollow, she chooses not to use it because it's a strain, and so she uses the intercom. Like there's so many.
I also wouldn't put it past Gears, and especially somebody like Cliffy B and all the narrative leads, to have basically done both, because they had never come up with the internal mechanics of how Mira's communication to the Locust works. That they kind of just flip-flop between whether it is some mystical thing or it is just like a radio device. But I think the thing in Rom Shadow that leads people to believe that it is like a magical thing is that you get the kind of vignette around Rom whenever she's speaking to him, which implies that there's like something going on that's targeting him specifically.
There's something going on that's targeting him specifically, but then like I feel like if I wanted to jump through the same hoops, they're like Locust, and they're not only genetically modified but also technically technologically like advantaged compared to like how you would expect a cave bearing creature to be. And what's stopping me from saying like, oh yeah, the like he actually has like a little like piece of tech in his brain that he's communicating with Mira, because Mira doesn't communicate with anybody else except him.
The truth is, there's
maybe
nothing
since
stopping
he's a
you
general,
from saying this,
there's
because
like
like
tech in his brain.
especially with Gears of War, this is a universe where like things in the plot happen first, and then like mechanics and justifications come up later. The Lancer has a chainsaw on it because a chainsaw is cool. The justification that they put a chainsaw on the Lancer because a regular bayonet doesn't cut through Locust hide came up as an excuse for why the Lancer has a chainsaw on it, not as, oh, this is a thing we kept up in the lore, let's put a chainsaw on the gun. It's like, no, we want a chainsaw on the gun, and then working backwards from that, how do we justify that coming about somewhat organically in the lore? And that's kind of how a lot of these things work, where you kind of have to, you get to a point where you're working with the game and the narrative as it is, and like the different mechanics and different guns and different outfits and skins and stuff, and then they work backwards from there to somehow make it make sense so that it fits into somewhat of a cohesive story. And sometimes they just don't do that. Like Queen Mira shows up in Gears 3 with a beetle, and it's like, where the fuck did the beetle come from? What is the beetle? She just has a magical fire-breathing beetle now? Okay. You know? Or like the riftworms in Gears 2. Like in Gears War 2, all of a sudden there's riftworms.
Wait. I have an argument for that. An argument for that. The riftworm is cool.
That's what I'm saying. The Lancer is cool. There's nothing wrong with that. But what I'm saying is that like the stuff they come with afterwards is that it's a backwards justification to explain why the thing that is cool exists, you know? And like we don't have any other reasoning or explanation for the Trinity otherwise, which we only see one of the Trinity, maybe 1.5, because it's not even a done deal if the big worm thing from 5 is one of the 3, where it just exists.
It's supposed to be the 1 and 2. I think the rib cage in Gears
No,
of War 5
not the dead one. The dead one is the one from 2. I'm talking about the
that one.
Kraken from the end of 5.
Oh, the Kraken. Oh, that's just
Yeah.
some swarm shit. That's what I call it. It's just some swarm shit. It's that thing.
Yeah.
It's just some swarm shit.
But it's a big worm, so it's hard to tell. It's like, is this a rift worm that got swarmified, or is it just
Wait,
a
actually,
swarm
is it a
thing?
big worm? I remember it just kind of like being like big and tentacly.
It's like a big worm that's got like a big kind of crab face on the front of it. But it is
I'm
a
gonna
big
have to
worm.
look at it again.
As far as
well, I guess
remember.
this is the hot take. Gears of War is shit. That's a hot take.
Gears of War lore
terribly
makes no sense because it is made aesthetic first and then reasoning second.
Yeah.
Every time.
That I don't think that really stops anybody from enjoying it, but
No.
they gotta
It's-
admit that like
It's the same as the
not written
characters.
the best.
The characters have strong personalities. They have really strong performances by all the actors. They're all doing a great job. They have really memorable
also
dialogue. But they
Wait.
don't exist as like, what is Ty as a character in Gears 2? He shows up, he looks tough, he's a little bit like weird. He like talks about how he likes looking at blood in red light.
I like the glow of locust blood in this light.
You got a sick mind, Ty.
and then he dies. Like there's not
Yeah.
there's no character for
I
Ty
think
to work on outside of being Worf.
Kate is literally the best in-game character, without any outside media having to like support her. She is the best in-game character.
I mean, as far as having something that resembles an arc, I would say yes.
Yeah, I think her and JD are like contenders for like best in-game characters, with like plots and stuff.
JD has it until he comes back in Act 3 of Gears 5, and he's like, I'm
Yeah.
good now, guys. And they're like, cool. No! What are you talking about? You were mad at him
I
for
had my
6
character development off
months.
screen, and Foz isn't so bad.
Yeah. And oh yeah, by the way, Del and Foz are best buddies now, and it's like, what the hell? What are you talking about? An hour ago, you guys were beating each other up and slapping each other in the dick in the locker room, and now we're all buddy. What?
Wait,
The time skips do more
what am I
damage to
talking about?
more of that.
Wait, what are we talking
Oh, 'cause
about in
the
terms
Kate?
of Kate or in terms of Gears story?
Okay, hold on. I'll diffuse the Kate bomb. Luchador Oscar is probably the best skin for the cog in all of Gears of War 4.
Luchador Oscar is probably the best character in the series, lore-wise.
Okay, now see, that's a little crazy. Because I don't think he has lore. It's just a skin with the implication that at some point Oscar may have been a luchador.
It's the lack of explanation that actually carries it a little bit.
It's like
You can make
the
your own.
Cantus skins in 4 that show up that never appear anywhere else. They just look cool. There's no explanation of what they are or how they do. They just show up. They're kind of like an off-brand armored Cantus. And then they never show up again, and they're never mentioned in anything ever.
Also, for Kate and JD being like the best characters in game, whenever you think about Marcus Phoenix, you think of
He doesn't have an
Marcus from
arc.
the books, I guess, because if you were to talk to somebody who's only ever played the games, Marcus doesn't really do anything until Gears of War 3.
Marcus's arc at the beginning of or his like character at the beginning of Gears 1 is, I'm angry, I want to kill grubs. His arc at the end of Gears 3 is, I'm angry, I want to kill grubs. My friend and dad are dead. I'm angry, I want to kill grubs.
think-
But otherwise, it's the same. Like, things
I think
happen to him,
Min
but he
and
doesn't have
Marcus are,
any
like, the same fucking
interiority.
character. And
Del is just Del. Kind of, yeah.
dude, Del
Del's kind of a
had the
throwaway.
opportunity to be one of the best fucking characters, one of the coolest
I wish
characters.
Del talked mad as shit. I like the idea of JD being this cocky son of a bitch. You know, he's the blonde, blue-eyed white guy. He's the son of, like, the war hero who saved literally the whole world. Of him going around like, yeah, I could walk out here, swing my dick around, and shoot some swarm. And Del sitting there in the background like, dude, shut the fuck up. You're gonna die. Pay attention.
Yeah.
I feel like he could have fit that role perfectly well.
Yeah, he's supposed to be like an engineer of sorts. He's supposed to be super like intelligent.
He's
and
like-
just never show it.
Dom and Baird smashed into the same person, but like those are not personalities that mesh whatsoever. So he kind of just comes off as like the best friend character.
Yeah,
Because he
I think-
he's literally an orphan. He literally has nothing outside of JD. It's like, you know, you talk about like characters like Mary Jane, where it's like they only exist to serve as like a role in Spider-Man's story. Del exists exclusively to play second fiddle to Kate and or JD, and nothing more. Literally nothing
Yeah.
more. He has no personhood outside of that. He kind of likes Dave, but that's a bit that lasts 5 seconds and then goes away.
I think if he wasn't in Gears of War 4, or like even a character really, I think Gears of War 4 would have been perceived a lot better. Just because like he is there for JD to banter with. And
But then
sometimes
they do the
banter
same
goes
kind
on
of
too
banter
long.
with Kate as well. So
Yeah.
it's like you have this triangle of 3 characters that are all kind of very similar. You know, I can concede that the characters are written with more intention of having arcs and themes, at least Kate and JD. But at least I can give Original Delta that those are 4 distinct voices, even if they're kind of saying the same thing in different flavors, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they all roughly have the thing of, we gotta kill grubs and get the mission done. But they say it in slightly different ways. And then Dom is also whining about his wife or whatever the fuck.
Cool it, Dom.
In Gears 4 and 5, you have Kate and JD are like, oh, my parent, and other stuff that's going on. Legacy, something. a little bit of an arc about like figuring out what my role in this is, and then you have Dell on the side being like, rock paper scissors, and it's like, dude, shut the fuck up.
If you were to take out like all their jokes and stuff like that and kind of like look at what the characters are,
I don't think it's necessarily the jokes either. I think it's just the fact that they do like the same kind of jokes all the time, because like there's all sorts of jokes and bullshit throughout like the original games.
yeah,
It's just the characters have their unique
that
voices.
Too. Gears was never super serious. They've always had jokes. People say that Gears of War 4 is too jokey, but Gears of War 1 was too jokey. They don't even fucking trip about that. But yeah, go on.
The first thing the first line he has after you save him is when you kick open that door and you see a fucking flayed corpse hanging from the ceiling, and Marcus goes, "Nice," and it's like,
Nice.
what, dude?
Yeah.
What? How am I supposed to take this guy seriously?
Or when they slip down in enemy territory where they're supposed to be quiet, and then Marcus slips, falls on his ass, and Dom is like, "Woohoo, woohoo, woo!"
Yeah.
These guys are so serious. This is such a depressing story. Oh fuck.
Yeah, it's a story about brotherhood and camaraderie, and then you get like a whole 30-minute monologue from Baird going, making fun of Cole, where he's like, "Oh, Cole, sign my shirt, number 383, Coltrane, blah, 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 blah," and he's bitching at the stranded camp, and it's like, these are not serious
Baird is
characters.
Baird is just a Gears 4 character and Gears 5 character that,
Yeah.
that somehow snuck his
Baird
way back
is
in time
Foz.
in the Gears of War 1. Yeah.
Literally,
Yeah,
like
actually,
it's
that's,
the
like,
same
literally-
exact character. He's the character that's kind of an asshole, except for the arc. It's not even an arc. Baird's personality changes between Gears 2 and 3, and Foz, it changes between Act 2 and 3.
Yeah.
Dom keeps saying quips 5 minutes after he killed his own wife. Yeah, exactly. Like the quips and shit they do when you kill people is fucking hilarious. Where like Dom like puts down his wife with like a 600 nitro revolver round, and then through the next door he blows the locust's head off and he goes, "Get some, bitches!" And it's like, Dom, you just you just euthanized your wife, your soulmate, dude. What? This is the serious story? It sounds a lot like we're just shitting on Gears to shit on Gears. I am, at least. But I do still love these games. I wouldn't have fucking $500 worth of replica guns sitting behind me if I didn't.
Yeah, I think people can get past certain like things that the characters do if the themes are kind of there. Cause like in Gears of War 2, it's really hard, just like in general, to match an action game with a heavy story.
Well, it's like it's all in tone, because I think of a character like Leon Kennedy, who throughout the duration of all of his games, he says the stupidest shit. His like first major line in RE4 is, "Where's everyone going?" Bingo. After he just got chased around by a guy with a chainsaw in a foreign village, and he's like, "Where's everyone going?" Bingo. And then it just keeps going. If I think as well, if Gears 4 and 5 applied like they could have even the jokey humor, but if they let it just land dry instead of like, they do the thing where they like pause for people to laugh. Like there's that scene in the locker where Kate makes a dick joke, where she's like talking about like, "Oh, Foz and JD are measuring something that I don't even have."
Yeah,
Where it's
she's
like, and then there's like a pause in the script a little bit because like they're expecting people to laugh or whatever, and it's like, no, it's just not funny.
I think that's what gets people, because it's the same type of jokes, but it doesn't linger back in the trilogy. Even when Baird is there like, "I know you want me to say that I've always loved you, but I don't. I really, really don't." Like you
and that's an example of one that drags. He's got a lot of lines where it's just
definitely.
It's like if you blink you'll miss it. Especially like in Gears 2 or Gears 1 and 2, where he's got a lot of lines like, "Plan? What plan? You don't plan. Pfft, plan." And then it just keeps going.
Yeah.
None of the other characters even address him after he says it. They're just like, keep going. They ignore him effectively. Or you have like character. I think Sam does a great job at that. She's kind of doing what I was talking about, what I would want Dell to play off JD as, where Baird is like talking about whatever. Sam's like, fuck over them. He's like, "Oh, I can see us living there, 2 kids, a dog." Baird's like, "And a big old bottle of suicide pills."
Yeah. I think also just like little things where it's like they make him an asshole, But not
my
all
house
of
up.
his
The bingo line was
asshole stuff comes with like actual, just like, I guess like
It's kind of just a
what
general
was it,
pessimism for the world.
yeah,
Yeah.
or like when Clayton's like do you have any box or do you have any wire cutters? And then he's like, yeah, I do. Hold on, and just like holds out his chainsaw. Like I
Yeah.
feel like that's just like a little something. It's just like a Captain Obvious type of.
There's a lot
type
of
of
what do you call it? Not literal humor, but like situational, kind of like you think about like punchlines in something like It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where it's like the actions that the characters are going through is kind of a joke in and of itself. Right after Dom just died. So the characters
Yeah.
being a little bit less jokey and a bit more literal and a bit more just like depressed, that makes sense for the story. Versus you look like in Gears of War 4, it makes sense for JD and Dell to be like joking and not giving a shit when they're fighting robots, because it's like the robots suck, they're not very good at their job, they're cheap, they're inexpensive, they're supposed to be replaceable and easy to chew through. It's not like a super tense situation. But then it's like you get to the point where you're trying to track down Reyna and whoever else was kidnapped from the village, and then Marcus gets kidnapped and you're trying to find Marcus, and JD and Dell are like hanging out at the castle gates going rock, paper, scissors, shoot. Rock, paper, scissors, shoot. And it's like, dude, what the fuck are we doing?
Yeah, but that scene after Marcus gets captured, that is like
That is
one of
a
the best
good
scenes in the game.
use of tone when JD's like freaking out and flipping the tables and shit.
Yeah, he flipping to him. He's like, God damn it!
And he has to, like, regain
the
his
voice acting is
composure.
Amazing.
Yeah, that's a great elevation from the scene that just transpired of Marcus getting kidnapped, and then it turns right back around to JD and
Kid's
Dell
like,
talking
oh, look
shit.
at there's door snot.
Yeah.
Anybody up for some door snot? Oh, I got it in my
And-
mouth. How does it taste? Because it smells terrible. How do you think
Yeah.
it tastes? Yeah, maybe I shouldn't have asked that.
And it's like,
well,
it's not even
that just happened.
it's not even that those lines are necessarily bad, but like the same thing with Baird. Dell should say, oh, what the fuck is that? Door snot? And then the other character should just be like, whatever, and then just cut through it and keep going. Like JD should be stone-faced until they find Marcus, because he shouldn't care about
Yeah.
anything else until they get there. Like he should be almost getting to the point where he is like closing himself off from his teammates because he is so narrow-minded in this goal.
Yeah, I feel like if I were to write that part, I would probably have one character say, probably like comment about the smell, like, oh, smells terrible, and then like as like the little joke on it, JD would be like, tastes terrible too, or something like that. Like not like a whole 15-second interaction.
Straight matter of fact, where it's like kind of ironic, but like kept enough levity to keep them going, basically.
Yeah, I think that's the only thing that really ruins that game, is that they can never keep a proper tone. That I think that's the
Say-
only thing that ruins Gears of War 4.
Gears of War 4,
And the
the
pacing of it.
campaign, especially between like Act 2 all the way through to like the beginning of Act 5, I believe, when you get to Spire. Beautiful game. I love
Yeah.
like that midnight aesthetic, like the nighttime with all the deep blues and greens. Best looking Gears of War game by a mile.
Yeah, it's. I don't know how some people don't like the Gears of War 4 aesthetic. That I think that's what Gears of War should be. That's like
It's
Gears of War. That is Gears of War.
It's funny that like I see so many people talk about Gears as if it needs to go back to the Gears of War
gray.
1 color palette of just gray and brown, which I think you can do in a modern game with like higher fidelity while still injecting color in creative ways. Like Resident Evil Requiem, I'm talking about Resident Evil a lot today. Resident Evil Requiem kind of does that, where like when you play through Leon's section, there's a whole level that is mainly just like gray and brown and dusty, but you still get a lot of character from like the environment, from like plant overgrowth, from like water in the environment, from lights and
Yeah.
shit like that. Like it's really high fidelity, and it makes the dullness stand out, especially when like you're killing zombies and the blood splatters all over the place, and that kind of like colors in the dullness. That's a cool way
And the
to
zombies
apply that
are
color.
really with the environment too. Like that when you
Yeah.
walk into that like whole
the warehouse at the
like
beginning.
warehouse, zombies start coming out of the ground, like literally out of the what
Just with
is it?
Sims 3.
They start coming out of like all the gravel and stuff like that.
Yeah, they're literally buried under the nuclear fallout and shit. But like
I think that's super
I think
awesome.
that's a way you could do a more muted palette. But like to me, whenever people say Gears of War should look like Gears of War 1, and it's like Gears of War 3 doesn't look like Gears of War 1. Judgment doesn't look like Gears of War 1. So clearly, the original creators of Gears of War don't agree with you, because otherwise Gears of War 3 would look like Gears of War 1. But they
Gears of War
specifically
has-
moved it in a more colorful, more expressive direction, you know?
Yeah, Gears of War's never had a consistent tone on like anything.
Not in
So-
the palette, no.
No, not even just for the palette, because like Gears of War 1, it's like Gears of War 1, it's like Destructive Days. Gears of War 2, it's literally like
It's a lot more wide
like
open
grimdark.
environments as well.
Yeah, Gears of War 2 is like grimdark, and in Gears of War 3 is like Mad Max.
There's a lot more, like,
there's
natural.
no consistency in Gears of War at all. So I don't think there's like necessarily a right Gears of War like
No.
tone or anything, which also acts against Gears of War because it suffers from lack of identity. That I think that's like a big thing that Gears lacks is a like a self identity, because I don't know.
I don't know. I think, say like for Gears, if you take like Gears 2, 3, and Judgment, I think those are all kind of close in tone. And like the different environments, more so, I don't think it hurts the identity as much as it does help to actually set the games apart, right? It's not like Call of Duty. Like Call of Duty, you'll go from Modern Warfare to Modern Warfare 2, and it's like, what's this level? Oh, we're fighting down a residential street. And it's like, oh, okay, what's this next level? We're going to fight down a residential street. I think the fact that, like, you have Gears of War 2 with these big burning environments, you have Gears 3 with, like, the wasteland, and Judgment with, like, the old town kind of Halvo Bay's upper class aesthetic, I think really sets those games apart and makes them more distinct from one another. That I would consider a benefit. I like when games feel unique from one another, rather than just feel like a direct sequel. Like, that's why I don't find Gears 1 to Gears 2 as impressive, because Gears of War 2 feels like just more Gears of War 1.
I guess
I think they should all look like Gears Pop, honestly. If we're
I think
if we're
they,
being true
either
here.
should just be Gears Pop. I think that's my hot take.
They just
Either
re-release
should
it,
just
no
be-
changes.
Yeah, it should just be Gears Pop ported to the PlayStation 5. I think it feels so weird. I bet if we went from like a cyber tone like Gears of War 4 to Gears of War 2, it would feel like a bigger leap, because it would show the dichotomy between the two like societies. How one of them's like looks like a fantasy and the other one is so sci-fi.
Kind of. Gears of War 4 also has a lot more like that overgrown kind of aesthetic to it, because it's
Yeah.
like so far removed from the original conflict.
Yeah, I think it's so awesome. You're going through historical areas that not only survived the Pendulum War, but also were attacked during the Locust War and are now overgrown with the Swarm during the Swarm Swarm invasion.
Like the dam
it's
is a cool
literally
environment.
So good. Yeah. I think man, let me make a Gears of War game, man. I'll make fucking peak. I swear to God.
I've said before, if I were given free reign of a Gears of War game, I feel like I have ideas that would put us on the fast track to Game of the Year. Whoever's now in charge of the coalition, I'm talking directly to you. I know Rod Fergie is no longer at the studio. Cliffy B's not coming back. What you need is a real leader. You're looking at him right here. This moron with the NASA hat, Game of the Year. Just let me have it. Give me the keys.
This cool guy with a zero profile picture has better ideas than the guy with the NASA hat.
I cannot confirm or deny that, but I do think they're probably better ideas than Tom Bissell. I'll stop shitting on Tom Bissell, but I really loathe the some of the character work and stuff he's done in 4 and 5.
JD has a son. All right, now it's the
We skip
Cicada
another
War.
25 years into the
Yeah.
future.
And now the robots are making robots to fight for robot kind. You know,
He just
we're
turns into
moving on.
Terminator.
And they actually go back in time to prevent the Locust War. And my wife is missing for a second time.
No, Dom, we gotta save my dad. Fuck Maria.
I know Maria's in the house, but we only have time to save one person. And my dad's not a part of this end.
It's just a repeat of like the Reyna choice where it's like, just throw it at her face. What are we doing?
What is your choice? Shoot Maria or save?
Though also, I'm just thinking about this. I've seen like people, the rebut to that is normally, well, if you throw it at her face, maybe she would have blocked it or whatever. But then it's like,
that's a retard. Man, that's
why does
stupid.
she give Kate the choice to begin with, and then Kate chooses by cutting the Why wouldn't she just say that one? Why does she have to, like, cut off the tentacle, and Reina lets her tentacle get cut off, and that's how... I don't think Reina was like, make your choice by cutting off one of my arms. Like...
Yeah, no, Kate just chose to do it or something.
Yeah, it's like Kate chooses to do so at the same time that Reina is independently giving her the choice. And it's just, it's a weird set. It feels very, it is forced. It's incredibly heavy-handed. The fact that you got two motherfuckers that are spec ops, they've been through this shit. They magically lose all of their magnetic guns in the earthquake. And the best they can come up with in this war zone, where we just mowed down at least 70 scions, the best they can whip up in a moment's notice is a 4-inch combat knife. They deserve that shit. They both should have died.
If I had the choice, that would be mine.
Yeah.
I saved JD, though. Or not JD, what the fuck am I talking? I saved Dell. I killed JD.
I mean, I've done both by now. I don't even know how you approach that. I don't know if you do it like Wolfenstein style and you just include both options in the next game, or if they're like, Dell is obviously the character that players don't care about. We're just gonna kill Dell.
The rap dude said Jack Black as Dom in Gears of War movie. I hate Jack Black, man. He's gonna just play Jack Black.
They make the Onyx Guard look like Custodes. Yeah, I mean, the
Beast
Onyx
Rider.
Guard are also chumps,
Yeah.
which I think is lore accurate. It's historically accurate at the very least. Secret police, they often are useless morons who exist to persecute paranoia more so than be an actual competent fighting force. So the Onyx Guard, by my regard, fit perfectly into that archetype. Maybe that's all. Everybody, that was a hot take for me when I put out that Onyx Guard video. People did not like the fact that I said the Onyx Guard being incompetent should be that way because they're fascist lapdogs, and that's how fascist lapdogs should be represented in media. Like the ISB officers in Andor and shit like that in Star Wars. Where it's like, these are people that are self-obsessed, they're paranoid, they're skeptical, they don't trust anybody, and that shit gets them killed.
Yeah, I feel like that fucking shit so loud. I don't know why I got so excited or something. The people, some people don't want that or don't agree with that thought process. I guess
I think it's purely because the Onyx Guard have such immaculate drip, and they don't want the character that's dripped out to be like a bitch.
And they're like the highest ranking of the gears. So we never really see them die to their own like bad decisions or anything. We literally just see them get bitched on like a cog gear.
You know what's interesting though? What is like Ty Kaliso's like living legacy? That he's like a badass half tattooed gladiator man.
Yeah,
I think
he can't
almost
really do anything
exclusively because of that panel where he's like stabbing the UAR soldier in the jungle, right?
Yeah.
But in Gears of War 2, in actuality, he does fuck all.
Yeah, he doesn't do shit. He gets captured and fucking dies. Oh, he fights Scourge, and with added context,
he fights Scourge with the help of Dizzy. He doesn't even like 1v1.
with added context, I actually bring up more of like a thematic argument for that fight. But it doesn't exist outside of Gears of War 2, only in the Quickening comic. Like, he's like the religious figure in Gears of War. Scourge is like pretty much their religious figure. And
he's got like a warrior philosophy.
Having Scourge fight Ty is like the destruction of, or I guess the dismantling of humanity's
like theology
and, like hope.
Yeah. That cooks so fucking hard. I wish anybody working on Gears of War 2 had even begun to have that thought.
Yeah, I don't think they really wanted that. They just thought Ty was cool, and since Ty was a warrior, they're just like, put him here. He's gonna sacrifice himself.
Yeah. Well, it's like the Worf thing. They make Ty this big badass Polynesian dude with all these tattoos and shit, and then he gets killed to show off that Scourge is so much more badass than Ty ever was. But like we met Ty 20 minutes ago.
Yeah. Ty, he survives everything, doesn't he? He literally got blown up by a tank
It's
and like survived.
I love that because Benjamin also met Ty like 20 minutes ago. He's like, he survives everything, doesn't he? And it's like, dude, you don't know this guy. What are you talking about? For all you know, he could have been working at a desk job a year ago.
Before he says, doesn't he kind of like takes a step back thinking that Ty's gonna wake back up or something. I don't know if you remember this scene.
He survives everything, doesn't he?
He expects Ty to get up and put his head back on.
It's like, don't worry, Ben. I am fine. Everything happens for a reason.
Yeah.
And Rap Dude says Ty fought Ram? When did that happen? Am I cooked? Do I not remember that? Like in the comics or something?
In Ram's shadow, I don't remember him fighting Ram directly, though.
Yeah, like he fights.
Like he's
off
there
Ram.
with Zeta Squad, where you have the Ram boss fight, but even in cutscenes, he doesn't get close because it's Alicia who runs in, and I mean, she gets herself killed, but and then you have Min and Barrick are the ones that go confront Ram after he crashes. Ty doesn't get near Ram in a cutscene. Ty as well, he does the same shit in that game in Ram Shadow, where he doesn't do shit for the plot. He's just around to say shit that sounds profound, but it really isn't that special.
Yeah.
It's like I love that they kind of get to a point of making fun of it in Gears 2, where they're like bitching about not having flashlights. And Ty just says might versus light. And Dom's like, what the fuck does that mean? And Ty's like, I don't know. I would rather have a gun than a flashlight, I guess.
Might versus light.
Meaning,
That I'd take an extra gun over a flashlight any day.
And it's like, that's exactly how all of his lines sound. It's like, he says something that's supposed to be profound, and you think about it, and you're like, what is this, like, compromise you're making philosophically? Are you saying you can't bring a flashlight with your gun? What are you talking about?
Like, why not have like a flashlight on like the armor or something?
Yeah.
But I think he means like, hypothetically, if he were to have one, he would have a gun, I guess.
Yeah, I take an extra gun over a flashlight any day. Yeah, but like that's also a flashlight does not take up the same amount of cargo space as a gun.
But if you were left with one in a dark area,
I mean, I would choose the gun over the flashlight.
Yeah,
but
I think that's what he's getting at.
Like Dom has a flashlight built into his armor that doesn't do anything. You can have both.
Oh, that's something.
They do it in Gears 4.
I don't think anybody's really answered this, or I haven't seen any. Why does everybody have different armor?
Just
like in Gears of
cool.
War 1 through 3, you could probably assume that it's just for like, because like they're like running low on resources. But even like Gears 4, everybody has like different armor.
It looks cool.
Maybe different ranks.
It looks cool.
Cool.
That's exclusively what it is. I mean, there's probably whatever justifications you can make that like they spend time patching up, like you say in Gears 1 through 3. Any number of excuses can be made, and even in like, I guess in 4. You can make the case that, like, Dell and JD are special forces, so obviously they have, like, unique armor to themselves and whatever their kit was, maybe. And then in 5, we're back to it looks cool.
Yeah.
Because they haven't... JD's armor has a fan in the back of it, and nobody else has that. Dell has, like, the tablet arm thing. They just kind of have, like, a random smattering of different tech artifacts.
Yeah. See, speaking of armor... I don't know if you picked this up or even thought about this for Gears of War 4. Isn't it kind of like cool where they could have gone, or not even where they could have gone, where they did go, when giving Kate Anya's armor?
Oh, like symbolically?
Yeah, because like Kate doesn't like the government and doesn't like the COG at all. Having her wear the literal First Minister's armor to protect her, that's like Anya giving from the grave and showing what she wanted for the COG, you know?
How quickly you could make that scene hit, too? You have a scene like when... Say, like, when the speaker ambushes them when they get to the power plant or whatever, right? It ambushes them, it shoots, like, specifically at Kate, trying to kill her with whatever super mega swarm gun. I don't know if it's just a powerful long shot. Who gives a shit? It's a big gun. And he shoots at Kate, and it, like, gets lodged in the chest plate, and the chest plate breaks off or whatever. but it like does her duty, and Kate's like, oh, I was protected by like the armor that I took bearing like the cog symbol or whatever. It saved my life and is allowing me to go further and save my mother. It would be that quick to make something so small have immense weight for the character narratively, even if it's kind of dumb. Like, even when I was like explaining it out to myself, I was like, it's not the most, it's a kind of dumb idea, but it's infinitely better than Kate just wearing the armor and being like, okay, this is my armor now.
Yeah, the both JD and Kate kind of like go to opposite ends. I don't think JD really has much distaste for the cog. I just think that he wanted to leave it because of
he was just ashamed
specific
because
happenings.
of the Settlement 2 thing.
Yeah, he goes through like a little arc of starting to dislike the cog to the point where he like grabs the Jin bot and like screams at her. He's like, what is he? He's like, I'm not your officer anymore, or something like that.
Yeah.
Or, like, quit calling me corporal, whatever the fuck his line was. And he gets like angry because he at that point he found out like everything that the cog does or all the secrets they hide and stuff like that. And then Kate is on the opposite end where she starts getting more warm to the cog, realizing that not every single person is just like an authoritarian rule like Jin or anything, and that there are people like Cole and Marcus and Baird like that are like there to help the people and not the government. I think Gears of War 4 is probably the best story in the game. The best story in the series, one of them.
I love this comment from Hudson. He says, why the fuck does Dell have Marcus's bandana? Speaking
Yeah. I
Which
don't
also,
understand that.
that's a thread that goes nowhere. They forgot about it. That was Marcus's personal do-rag that he wears for 20 plus years of the war. Dell is just lugging that shit around. Not even a line of like, oh, I gave that to Dell as like a promise that him and JD would come back to me in one piece from whatever fuckery. A line as simple of that would have solved and made sense for that character to like, to show that Marcus not only knows Dell, but like trusts Dell. He's like, take this personal artifact of mine and then bring it back to me as like an understanding that I expect you to come back in one piece. That would have done numbers for that character.
Yeah, like, you know,
but it just goes nowhere.
Like Dell's an orphan. He never had a parental figure.
Dell,
as Marcus Phoenix, will give him my bandana as something to like remember like one of his first father figures.
Dell could even have a character parallel with Marcus, where Marcus looks at Dell and he's like, I remember not really having a family and I kind of grew up with the Santiagos. I'm giving you my bandana as like a thing of like, I understand where you're coming from because I was literally in that same place. But it's just it's nothing. It just means nothing. He just had it just because.
I guess they wasted every single one of Marcus's upbringing archetypes on JD. Like
it's just a rerun, yeah.
Yeah, like they both
he
had
abandons the
disagreements
cog.
with their dad. They abandoned.
Marcus
the cog
told him not to
one way or
join the
another.
cog, and then he joined the cog, and then he abandoned the cog.
Yeah, they had a like a distant relationship after the mom died.
Yeah,
like so many things are replayed. I bet some of that could have been used for JD or Dell.
I'm thinking of like Moral and Marcus again, where like, you know, JD has that thing where if you go and you like clear the leaves off, when he goes and talks to Marcus, he's like, you could have at least like raked up the leaves. And Marcus is like,
yeah,
it's outside. There's leaves outside. Shut the fuck up. Imagine like Marcus going into like the Phoenix estate and like you could find like Elaine's headstone lying somewhere around the house, and he's like, Dad. Mom's headstone is literally in front of an e-hole. Why did you plug that e-hole? Dad, what the fuck?
I think they need to go further on making Marcus like an idiot or something. I think that'd be funny. War hero just happens to be like the most fucking stupid guy known to man.
Gear 6 opens. Marcus is like in a hospital bed. Baird walks up to him because Baird is the one doctor they have in all the cog. He walks up and he's like, Marcus, you got severe CTE. And Marcus is like, how? What the fuck? I'd never get hit in the head. And he's like, you know when we like roll with all of our weight and 50 pounds of armor forward onto our head and necks? Yeah, it turns out that's been fucking us all over.
Yeah.
We do that on slopes and on broken buildings
years.
And over glass and into dead bodies and over the top of weapons. Yeah, we all have severe brain damage.
He's been doing it wrong for years. Everybody's been doing it properly, but he's been doing it wrong, landing perfectly on his head every single time.
Marcus thought that was the way to do it. It made his head stronger.
How come you guys don't thump whenever you guys hit the ground? I don't hear a clunk.
He put on the
I should
do-rag
thump
not
your
as a
armor.
stylistic choice, but because his hair kept getting fucked up when he was rolling. It would
It,
like
like,
get
softens the
ripped
blow.
out. Yeah, so he put it on so it wouldn't rip out his hair. The scene in Gears of War 4 when they need to hunker down, but the storm kept fucking up the house. I do like that scene. That's a very funny one. When they're in the barn, he's like, it'll hold, and then like more and more of the roof just starts getting peeled off. He's like, God damn it!
I feel like at a
I like
fine
Grumpy
scene-
Marcus. In the first third of that game, I like Grumpy Marcus, and then by Gears 5, Marcus is just old guy who's a lot of the old cast. It just becomes old guy who is still around. Clayton is an old guy who's just still around. Cole is an old guy who's just still around. Paddock is an old guy who's just still around, and Marcus is an old guy who's just still around. But they don't have a whole lot to do in the story. Like at least Baird is kind of contributing by like leading everyone through of trying to get the Hammer of Dawn online, but otherwise everyone else is just relegated to old guy.
So
Even
back to
Sam.
their, Gears
Sam
of
is
War-
old
Gears of War
lady.
version. Oh yeah, for that hot take, let's do that hot take.
Oh, Gears of War 1 is the worst Gears game in the franchise.
Gears of War 1 is the worst fucking Gears of War game.
It's worse than Judgment. It's worse than 5. I don't care how much you hate 5
Wait.
conceptually.
We didn't agree on that one. What the fuck? Worse than 5?
What do you think? What do you think worse than the franchise mean? Worse than the franchise means it's below 5.
I was being like 1% hyperbolic just to put 5 below.
No.
You really think 5 is
5?
better than?
If I log on to Gears 5, I can
We're not
have
talking
fun
about
with
gameplay,
the
by the way. We're
gameplay.
talking about like actual like story, right?
If we're just talking story, Gears 5 is still better than Gears 1. I don't care. Like,
Still better.
because at least there's like an
I'd like
attempt
to hear
at
it.
a
I'd like to
story
hear this.
made. Gears of War 1 has exclusive. I think the campaign, the level design is fucking shit. I think it's boring and it's a slog. I can't think of a single level in that game that's necessarily very fun to play, especially on higher difficulties. On higher difficulties, it's even worse. That's kind of an issue with all the Gears games, though, because all Gears games difficulty is just enemy health go up, your damage go down, and your health go down, instead of making the enemies more dangerous or mixing up the types of enemies that spawn. Gears 1, it's clunky as shit. The level design doesn't do it any favors. When you try to get into cover and you just roll forward and then a grenadier pops your shit smooth off, that's the most infuriating thing there is in a single Gears game, I think.
Wait, now that I'm thinking on it,
The story doesn't
You
really
might be
exist.
right.
It gives up on itself about halfway through. The only thing that carries Gears of War 1 is there's like charismatic deliveries and performances from the characters. And if you play it co-op, it's a little bit more fun. Gears 5, at the very least, has some shit like with Jack's upgrade abilities that you could fuck around with. And then like story-wise, they're both very basic kind of nonsense. Neither of those are good. Those are both like 3 out of 10 stories to me. Gears 5 at least is attempting something more complex, and strangely enough, even though Gears 5 is incoherent, but it is still more coherent than Gears of War 1, where the story just ignores the first half of the plot to move on to the end, as we already
Gears
talked
of War
about
1
an hour ago.
they
get-
literally forget to put Ram on the train. They forget a scene where Ram goes on a train, so he just happens to be there as the boss. Wait,
Yeah.
you're right. I think you're right. I think I agree with you. Gears of War 1 is the worst in the series.
Yeah, it is like, and that's not even necessarily saying that it's bad because it was made. It was just the first. It came out in 2006. It was developed in 2005 for the Xbox 360.
But, like,
That's like saying
Okay,
the Model
I
T
can
is the
get-
worst car. Like, objectively, yes, it is a worse car than like an F-150 that comes out today. That's not necessarily saying that it was like bad for the time. Obviously not, because we wouldn't have modern cars if not for the Model T. We wouldn't have modern Gears games if not for Gears 1. But in hindsight and retrospective of all the games that have come since, Gears 5 is already almost... What? It'll be 7? No. Yeah, 7 years old. Out
Gears
of all
1 had hype and aura moments. I don't even think that either, honestly.
No. What were
I think
the
Ultimate
singular
Edition made those moments hype, but I think in
That's
the
true.
original, maybe if it was back in 2006 and I was literally having the brain blown out of the back of my fucking head. Yo, I've
if
never
I was
seen
still a
mocap like this
lobotomite
before.
child. Yeah.
Yeah,
But, like-
then maybe.
Because I recently, when I was going through and recording all the different games, I went through and I played the OG Gears of War 1. And I never thought in my life, when I got through the Corpser boss fight, and I never once in my life did I think, I would rather be playing Gears of War Reloaded until that moment. Where I was like, at least the cutscenes are way prettier. And I think the existence of Ultimate Edition has allowed people to persist Gears of War 1 as the best game because it has a newer, fresher, updated format as opposed to 2, 3, and then obviously people just write off 4 and 5 off rip.
I think Gears of War 1, I think it had some interesting ideas, but I feel like since nothing was fully realized, they didn't know where to go with those ideas.
It's a big concept piece.
Yeah, and then with Ultimate Edition, they came through and they were like, okay, these guys are supposed to be crazy strong. These guys are supposed to be this. These guys are supposed to be that. And that's why I think the ROM scene is infinitely better in Ultimate Edition.
It's
than
like
one.
when they were doing all the behind the scenes stuff for Ultimate Edition, Rod Ferguson has like a whole thing where he's talking about ROM specifically, whereas like ROM was like the last thing we added to the game. He's literally just a big Theron. His gun is the back half of a boom shot and the front half of a troika stapled together.
Yeah,
literally. Even in the newer in Ultimate Edition, it still is that, but it's kind of charming that they kept that. But like ROM is literally just a big Theron. Literally. I think maybe his armor is colored white or whatever. But like them going through an Ultimate Edition and redoing his whole design, giving him that fucking nasty ass scowl with like the blood that nasty... spits in his eye.
Yeah,
the chainsaw
like his
moment.
Little underbite. The little underbite he has.
Yeah,
with
he's got like the
little
pitbull
metal
teeth.
pieces. Yeah, with little metal pieces on his face. Oh, that's so cool. That's so sick.
It's a very well done reimagining, but the first game, no, that does not do it any justice whatsoever.
Yeah,
he looks like a very angular fish. He kind of just looked like a piranha. Yeah, like the old school ROM design.
I think Scourge is kind of the opposite of what the Locust should be. I still think he's really cool.
Yeah,
like awesome.
What makes him stand out
too.
is that he is so antithetical to the rest of like Locust enemy archetypes as we know them.
Even to like the Cantus, like in the comics for Rise of Rom, the Cantus were kind of changed into these like monks of sort. Even though they technically were still monks.
Yeah.
In Gears of War, Rise of Rom, they have these bow staffs and they were like proper. And all this and that they were very like respectful to other members of the Holy Trinity and stuff like that. So it gives reason for Scourge to kind of be like pretty much a ninja. But it's just so weird to think that like you're telling me these Cantus are down in the fucking hollow practicing jumping fucking 30 feet in the air. It's like
they've got like the Jungle Gym training set from Kung Fu Panda 1 with all those spinning wheels and shit.
There was actually one specific time a Locust did like a really big jump like that wasn't a Cantus, and it was all the way back in Gears of War 1, a trailer of Gears 1, where I think you remember the scene where Marcus is kind of has his back against the wall shooting at the Locust. A drone jumps off of a car and jumps like 30 feet in the air and like shoots and still misses every shot. By the way,
in the Unlimited Ultimate Edition.
Ultimate Edition?
Because I know they recreate that scene, but it's Marcus and Dom in the updated one.
I don't think so. I feel like I never.
Or it may have
been
been changed to a Wretch.
If anything, it would have been a Wretch.
Yeah, maybe.
Also,
that is kind of funny though. The idea of a drone just like torpedoing towards you. Imagine like how
deadly that.
You know
would
the
if I
Savage
could jump
drones.
Like that, I'd jump through people's chests.
If the Savage drones in Gears 3, they like shoot up into the air from the dust. If they like shot up and then their arms stuck out forward and they just started dive bombing you like a hunter from Left 4 Dead.
Wait,
that would be horrifying.
I know one panel from Invincible where I don't know who it is, but they're like diving into Battle Beast.
Oh,
I don't know if you know the
yeah.
panel I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
They're diving into Battle Beast. That panel is so.
there's a
funny to
few
me.
panels like that in Invincible where you have two characters like diagonally opposed and they're like flying at each other.
Oh, that panel's so funny. I saw a drawing of it where it's Cream the rabbit and and Cheese the Chow going
not
against
familiar
like,
with either of
Sonic.exe or something. Oh, you don't know either of them? Fuck. It's such a
Oh,
great
Cream!
picture,
You
though.
just have a Cream the Rabbit from Sonic.
Yeah. It was
Okay,
like a
yeah.
reanimated of it.
Yeah.
Oh, it was so funny seeing Cream drawn all buff like that, diving into Sonic.exe. It's like
Yeah.
some stupid shit. And I think it's like perfectly fine for Locust to have some variety. If anything, I wish they had more variety. And I think Gears of War sucks when it comes to AI, kind of.
I think it's not even
was-
necessarily how enemies fight you, but like your opportunity for engaging with enemies is exclusively deal damage until they die. There's no they mix
Yeah.
it up a little bit in 5 where they start introducing like helmets, and that's the one I think about. Like I'm gonna bring us right back to Resident Evil again. In Resident Evil, you could like kneecap the zombies and then run past them, or kneecap them to get up close and do like a melee attack on the face. Where it's like, imagine if you could do that in Gears. Even Bulletstorm had that, which was another game made by Epic Games and People Can Fly, where you could shoot an enemy in the balls and they'll like double over the fact that you obviously you just shot them in the nuts. Of course they're gonna feel it, and then you could walk up to them and just boot them in the face.
Do you think
Even
in multiplayer,
something like that.
Do you think something like that could be in multiplayer, where like
Maybe
where like they add a bit more melee options? I know I was thinking, even though
maybe if it was
sounds
a
like
very
fucking
simple
dream.
parry system, like Space Marine 2 kind of has that in multiplayer. But it's kind of clunky, and you never really use it because it's not super consistent depending on what weapons you're using. But like, I don't think it would work necessarily for multiplayer because it would be like a lot of stuns that would piss people off. But for PvE, especially when you're going against drones, like being able to like kneecap a drone and then go up and cut its head off with the Lancer real quick, I think that would add a lot of creativity and flow to the game that was not
Yeah.
previously a part of it.
I know I was thinking, even though it probably will never be a thing.
Or even,
So,
hear me out. You take certain guns that are like really puncture oriented, like the Boltok, Longshot, Marksa. You make the Locust scarier by making them endurant as fuck. So say you have a gun that has like a puncture rating. It's a Boltok, you active reload it. You're getting gunned down by a basic ass drone with a hammer burst. He's like down a hallway from you. You fire at him with the active Boltok. It rips the drone's arm off. He has to drop his hammer burst, and you see the drone like whip out a Boltok of his own, or a snub pistol, or whatever generic ass Locust pistol he has. And now the drone has to engage you with one arm and one sidearm.
that would be really cool.
Like being able to disarm enemies, or influence the way that they have to engage you by like instead of maulers, instead of them just charging you with their shield up until they die. Imagine if you could hit the shield with a boom shot and it would break the boom shield, and now they're fully exposed, but they're gonna charge at you at full speed now. Just small little things like that increase the depth of gameplay tenfold, because now you have like 2 or 3 different weak points to focus on every enemy that really changes the entire flow of gameplay. Where it's not just, oh, there's 5 drones and I have 6 long shot shots. I'm just going to headshot 5 drones and move on. Which I feel like is what a lot of Gears of War gunplay is, where it's just do damage until thing dies and then move on to the next room. I think 4 and 5 do the best at trying to mix that up, obviously with the helmets. And then there is some stuff like with the pouncers where they jump onto you, which encourages like,
those are
if
like the
you,
best enemies in the series right there.
yeah, where like if you are working together as a team, as you should be, your teammate can run over, kick it off, and then immediately get a chainsaw execution on it while it's exposed. That kind of shit is really cool and is really rewarding. But when you just have a series of drone hammerburst, drone torque bow, drone shotgun, drone sniper, drone whatever insert X weapon here that just walks slowly towards you and doesn't do anything until you get it down and kill it, that's really boring by comparison.
I think Gears of War 5, despite being a hunk of trash, I think their addition and changing of the sires is one of the best like enemies in the series. I wish they still kind of fell like in
I wish
Gears
it
of
was
War 2.
both. I wish that you had to give them, but they still were like a grapple enemy.
Yeah.
Because it makes the co-op thing still important, but it still makes the sires an even bigger threat. Because they shouldn't be, again, the same thing. I hate that the sires are just like, they're just tanky now. Instead of being like, you put half a Lancer clip into them, and then they fall down, and then they get right back up. It should
And, like,
be...
you don't know if they're dead.
Yeah.
Unless you like aim at them and stuff, and then you can still see they're red, and then you can shoot at them again.
They should have, like, low health per life, and then have, like, 3 lives or whatever. Unless you chainsaw them or give them like it was in Gears of War 2.
I wish... Okay. So, I really like the chainsaw, obviously. Everybody loves the chainsaw. The chainsaw's so cool. I know that there's kind of like a dream concept I have that I don't think will flow well in Gears of War as we know it. I remember thinking... Chainsaw duels going forward, should they just be mash B? Probably not. What the fuck? How did that guy headshot me like that? So okay. So imagine a chainsaw duel where like the animation starts, and before your chainsaws collide, you pick like a decision, kind of like For Honor, of like where to block,
Like a
up,
directional,
left, or right. Yeah, and I don't know the exact components of it, so maybe like up beats right or some shit, some weird rock paper scissors shit. But if you collide, then you start mashing.
I think you should make it not necessarily like For Honor, where it's like a directional parry. It should be like the CQB thing, where say if somebody like runs up to you with their chainsaw revved, and you have your Lancer out. It should do, like, you know, when you kick people over cover and you have a chance to, like, riposte the kick. It should give you a chance to, like,
you like parry
counter.
It,
yeah, to, like, parry it, and then it just cancels it. Or if you don't parry it in time, then it starts the mash B. And then maybe you have, like, a disadvantage if you're the defender on mashing.
Yeah, that would be really cool. I just don't think stuff like that would happen in actual games. But that's no reason not to have it.
It'd be very rare. But yeah.
Yeah, if that was the case, then, like, the chainsaw duel would just, like, be taken
It would
out of the
get
game
a lot of use in PvE, though. Which I think
Yeah.
is, between the campaign, which is a massive focal point of Gears, and like Horde mode, which people love, and the other PvE modes, like maybe, not Overrun, but like Survival and Escape and whatnot, Beast mode, that kind of ability would get a lot of use.
I think a cool like animation to add as well is like if you go to chainsaw an enemy that's like too strong, like if you were to go up to chainsaw
Like a Scion.
like a Scion or something,
yeah.
he would kind of do something similar to like Rom in Ultimate Edition, where he kind of like grabs it and not necessarily throws it away, but kind of like grabs it and kind of like slaps it away or something.
It would be
like that.
cool.
I feel like that's a cooler animation, but it would also
If, like, see, this is like where like it would take a lot. It wouldn't take. I don't know if it would take necessarily that much work. But say like you could make it even into its own metagame, where it's like, say if you come to a Scion from behind, they have that big fleshy back, and you try to chainsaw them. If you're behind them and they don't notice you because they're focused on a different enemy, or if you're just being stealthy or whatever, you can just rip them right in half and just send the chainsaw right through them. But say like they turn around and they see you, they grab you by the face, they throw you, your character does a little roll animation, and then you're like basically stun locked for 2 or 3 seconds as your character has to like pick themselves back up and like get back into the fight. I think something like that would be really kind of similar in theory to the Cantus, how like if you are trying to chainsaw a Cantus, you have to get to it before it can get the scream off, otherwise it like just stun locks you, but making it more not mechanically fluid, but like cinematically fluid by giving you a different response depending on where and how you approach the attack to begin with. Like you can't just walk face up to a Scion, put your dick right out onto his lap, and then cut him in half. You gotta like sneak up behind him and try and like get it off from behind or something like that. Or even like the like stealth attacks in Dark Souls games, where maybe it doesn't actually insta kill it, but you just cut out like a giant chunk of flesh and now he's like down to half health or whatever immediately. something like that.
Yeah, that would be a
like
really cool
rewards
thing
you
to
for
see.
getting up close.
Because they are like a lot thicker and stronger than like the regular drones. So
Or
maybe
even,
you
like,
just
the
like
Cantus,
kind of
yeah.
saw into it, and it was like, "Arr!" Kinda, like step forward, holding their back or some shit. But I
Yeah.
guess if they do that, then your teammate can kind of yeah, like get an advantage out by
That's
shooting
see,
it while
that's
it
you know,
moves
like
forward.
the double chainsaws they added in Gears 2, where like you could have
Yeah.
someone chainsaw from in front and back. Do it like that, where like if you have one teammate able to walk up behind and like start with like the surprise attack when it's like starting to be stunned because it has a chainsaw on its spine, your other teammate can run up from the front, and now that it's distracted, can chainsaw it from the front, and then you just immediately kill it without even spending a single drop of ammo. But you have to use your positioning and getting around it and worrying about getting shot by drones that are protecting the Scion on its flanks. But there's a way for you to just eliminate a Scion, like a really tough enemy, with just chainsaws. And it would be a
Yeah.
really fun way of both involving both players in co-op and rewarding like actual positioning in the battlefield that's not just keep the enemies at arm's length so you could put lead down range.
Speaking of positioning on the battlefield, now the topic of discussion. Do you think Gears of War E-Day, let's just say for E-Day because this is like the next game, do you think it should have more open world sections, or do you think it should be completely void of?
The thing about Gears 5 is the open world sections aren't bad because they're open world. They're bad because there's nothing in it. All there is to do in the open world, besides moving from objective to objective, is to grab collectibles. That's the part of the open world that sucks. Like Gears of War and it being like semi-open or whatever, or being like open concept, is not inherently a bad thing. It was just executed incredibly poorly. It felt more of a decision of like, how do we pad runtime while doing less work? Ubisoft open world? Basically, yeah, like that. Like an Assassin's Creed game. Personally, I feel like a God of War, Resident Evil style, Dark Souls even kind of style of like open level. I don't know what you would call that, like a rogue-like kind of, where you're like revisiting the same areas as you move through like a maze kind of like level. I think that could work really well for Gears of War. Obviously, Gears of War shares a lot of DNA with like the modern God of War games and the modern Resident Evil games. So I think that would work very effectively. I think it would be stupid if Marcus Phoenix had to collect like some sort of like ruby, emerald, diamond, gem puzzle to open a door. I'm not saying that they should do anything like that like they do in Resident Evil.
I think they should do something like that.
You have to collect the Retro Lancer
it's
bayonet.
Like, it's like, remember, turn the cog 7 times and unlock my secret entrance. And
Yeah,
then
you have
Marcus
to collect
picks it up and say, nice.
Yeah, you have to collect like the 2 wings of the Phoenix and like the main body and insert it into a cog, and it starts spinning like a vault tech
They're on the
door.
opposite side of Kelowna for some reason.
Yeah, but like I think the concept of those levels that like backpedal onto themselves and intertwine with previous areas that evolve over the course of whatever you're going through, especially for E-Day, where like, say like you have a section that's like a home base where it's like the COG base of operations. They're sending you out to go check this hospital, go check this orphanage, go check, you know, whatever basketball hoops down the street, and like all the different sections kind of loop back into each other, and you like do a lot of backpedaling and retraversal through those areas. I think that could work very well for Gears of War. And I'm not even necessarily against open world. It just has to be done with the right execution.
Yeah, like I am of the mind that Gears of War kind of needs to go open world, at least semi-open world for E-Day.
I think it would be fun to explore the city.
Yeah, fun to explore the city. And
I think like, have you played Metro Exodus?
I have not, but I've played a Metro,
So
another one on 360.
I think it's like Last Light.
That's like, yeah.
I don't believe those games are the same. I've only played Exodus, but in like Exodus you have the start of a level. Like a level is a self-contained thing, but you have basically like a Battlefield, like Battlefield the game sized map, and then all of your objectives for that level will be on that map. So it's open, and there's stuff for you to go and explore and do and learn about the world and interact with NPCs, but you still have like more narrow narrative sections. It's basically kind of the same way that Gears 5 did it, except for in Gears 5 there's a lot of just open air. Exodus is a lot smaller, more intimate maps that are much better designed, and there's like I think 5 or 6 of them total versus like here's the big snow place and here's the big desert place, and they're kind of empty outside of the POIs dotted around the place. With like Exodus, it's a very, very tight-knit map and level where you're running into something new like every 30 seconds or so.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was saying when I speak to people about this, where it's like Gears of War 5 already did something pretty interesting with being able to kind of like attack the swarm as they are. You could sneak around them, or you could shoot the gas canisters that they're carrying, or you could just run in guns blazing, like do whatever you want to get up on them. Like, can you just imagine like going around Kelowna on E-Day, like dealing with all these Reavers and seeing all these Brumaks in the distance and just like seeing all this shit go down? And then you enter this area and have to kind of like go into like a basement of sorts or something like that. And then while it's open world and like all open during the war sections, you open this kind of like area to a lore section, to a story mode section, and it's like small corridors, very close quarters combat, stuff like that. Or at least like Gears, like traditional Gears combat. That's what I think of. Kind of like we were talking about like Requiem.
Yeah.
And
it doesn't even have to be like hardcore lore. Even if it's just like there's like a house on the side of the street that's like interactable, and you can kick open the door and you can walk in, and you could find like a family huddled up, and it's like they give you a small thing of like help us clear the way back to the base so that we can leave, and then you could do that. Or you have it set up in like you have multiple options for it where it's like, yeah, we'll clear the way, and then you don't clear the way and you come back and they're all eaten alive by wretches. Do like small shit like that immerses you and makes it feel like the world is alive and responding to this literal apocalyptic threat that is literally devouring humanity. As
like
going
that was like
it.
your fault for it happening too. Like,
yeah, where you can like
you're the reason they're dead.
Invest player agency into the things that are happening instead of just having things that happen to the player. It makes a world of a difference. And this is like game development 101 type stuff. This is not like the most... I'm doing the same stuff where I was like criticizing Ty of earlier, at least I feel like, where it's like I'm saying something that has the chance of coming off as like, oh, this is like a really profound way of thinking that nobody has ever brought up before. And it's like, no, this is like what you should go over in like the white pages of starting a project.
No, but like what you're saying is only really done in like RPGs.
Yeah,
which so I feel like bringing something like that to Gears would be like cool.
I think really there's two ways of thought that I have when it comes to bringing elements from a different game to a team like Gears, which is like, one, how much of oversight, like production insight, kind of forces that, where it's like, say you have somebody from Xbox Game Studios who comes in and they're like, we want there to be an open world section. And TC just has to be like, we've never really done open world, but okay. And then like they have to like make that work into their production. Which is also a thing with like developers who either go from different genres or like start into a new genre. Normally they have a rough time going at it because like you look at a game like you look at a studio like Rockstar Games. When it comes to making single player narrative focused open world experiences, they're the fucking king. Because they've done nothing but open world single-player narrative experiences for years, decades at this point. You look at a studio like CD Projekt Red. For a decade, they did The Witcher, which is an open-world RPG, third-person, super fantasy, working with all that. Then they shift gears to Cyberpunk, which is like a dense city first-person RPG, with like it has to have all the mechanics of cars and NPCs walking on the sidewalk and police and some sort of a society that is way different from what The Witcher was. And you could see like at the very beginning, a lot of issues were built around making that city feel the most alive that it could be, and a lot of the issues that it had weren't solved until like a year, 2 years later after its release, where they were able to take a step back and be like, here's all the things we fucked up on. How do we go back and improve those? Not just fix the things we did, but improve and make them even better. Which is the way I would think about it from the lens of looking at TC from the outside, where it's like they tried to do an open world thing. They don't really know what they're doing. They've never really done open world before. They kind of have an idea of what people liked about what the open world stuff was. They know what people disliked. They know what people absolutely avoid every single time. So if they go and do it again, hopefully, if they're thinking about it and that wisdom is being applied, a lot of the pitfalls that are found in Gears 5's open world segments won't be present in the future one.
Yeah, I feel like that's my exact point of view on it as well, where it's like they found out what didn't work the first time. So hopefully this next time, if it is open world, if they chose to go open world, which I don't think it is, because I'm pretty sure they said it was going to be linear.
I think it's just supposed to be evocative of Gears of War 1 on purpose. It's Marcus and Dom.
Yeah.
It's going to be linear. It's going to be, yeah.
But I think if they said it was going to be open world, I wouldn't even like be scared of it or anything like that. I think Gears kind of needs to go open world, at least for like a couple of games or something like that. I feel like it's really good to do that.
I'm also of the
like
opinion that you could take basically any franchise and plug it into any other genre, and as long as the execution is there, it'll still be great and it'll still be enjoyable as a fan. Like, Gears Tactics is not a Gears of War game, but it is a tactical strategy game set in the universe of Gears.
Yeah, like you could probably get somebody who enjoys tactical RPGs and they would play Gears Tactics and like really like it, and probably like never even touch like the series.
Yeah. And I think you could have that. You could have basically like a Resident Evil style game, but put us in the boots of someone like Jace during Rom Shadow, or like a Carmine type character, somebody who's not Marcus Phoenix, and be like, okay, you're a single person. You can wield maybe a snub pistol, maybe a baseball bat. Wretches are like berserker level enemies to you now. Escape this city that's overrun with locusts. You could do an experience like that as long as you execute it right.
That would be fucking sick. I remember I always thought about that. That's really cool.
It would be very fun. We've been talking about the meta development like philosophies of Gears of War for a minute now. I don't know if you wanted to go back to hot takes or if you had other things you wanted to bring up.
Yeah, fuck. We just started going on the conversation.
It's been about an hour since we talked about a hot take.
the hot take went into like just like an interesting conversation.
Yeah. The philosophy of game design is interesting in and of itself, but
I feel like we already been through a ton of them. Kate being undeniably the best character in media history. Gears of War 1 being the absolute piece of media in cinema history or gaming history.
No one talked about. Hey, I'm just going to run through these. We talked about that one. We talked about that one. Gears won't let women be equal. Let the women be fucking massive. Add Zarya to the game. Give me a muscle mommy.
I completely forgot about that. Yeah, no. I think some people are of the mind that women shouldn't be in the front line in Gears and stuff like that, which, like, for one, is just not like a good thing to think. And for two, I'm fine with them being like a little bit skinny, just like all the other cogs.
But they're even skinnier than like the smaller cog Gears like Anthony and Baird.
Yeah, they are
Even
tiny.
though we're told that like someone like Alex Brand is killing it so hard that Dom mistakes her for a guy somehow. And like fans love that character. They see her as like a badass femme fatale type character, whatever the fuck. But they are still opposed to the idea of the women being more than 125 pounds. In a universe where all of the men have biceps that weigh at least 40 pounds each.
Like, I don't think every single character needs to be buff, obviously. But I feel like they gotta be at least like proportional.
The fact that every single female character has the exact same body proportions. Like, at least with like the male characters, there's like 3 body types. You have like the Anthony Carmine, you have the Gary Carmine, and you have the Coltrane. Where it's like you got like small buff, medium buff, big buff. Women, you have girl.
You have Anya Stroud, and then
You have girl with blonde hair, you have girl with black hair, you have girl with braid, you have girl with red hair. And that's it. You have girl with helmet. There is literally no difference. The closest it gets in different silhouettes is like the Akagi, the Cog Commando with like the heavy armor on, but that's only because she's wearing like a big chunky, and it's not even that chunky compared to the male counterpart. Let them just be regular sized.
Yeah, I think a woman could have better representation. The reason Gears of War 3 has enough or as much female representation as it does, I'm pretty sure it's because Karen Travis was like a big part in writing it.
That's
and
a
those
part
were
of
like
it.
the characters that she was like making.
That's a part of it.
That's
There's
also why it feels
also,
like
I remember like specific blurbs from Cliffy B where he's talking about like they've noticed that like more women gamers are getting into the industry, so they want to cater towards those people to make them also feel included.
Yeah,
Like that's the point of inclusion, is to like show that like literally anybody can be here.
Yeah, in one of the Gears of War 2 documentaries, I think it's just like the making of Gears 2, like a documentary on it.
Yeah.
Or Gears of War 1. Gears of War 1 making documentary. I don't know if it was just like performative or what, but there was just like a small kind of like blink and you'll miss it section where they're modeling Anya, and Cliffy B is literally just like her boobs are like way too big. We gotta kind of like shrink them down and stuff like that. I forgot exactly what he said, but he pretty much said that where he was like it's kind of silly how like the muscles are gigantic, but then like we want to focus on not making the proportions on the female characters too big because we don't want to like sexualize her.
Yeah.
And I guess like around this time, obviously you had like Halo, which is literally like, yeah, Cortana, she's literally naked. She's literally naked.
Yeah. Halo, Dead or Alive, any fighting game really.
Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 9.
Yeah, so understanding that Cliffy B, like verbally was like, all right, yeah, we gotta make sure that this woman is like very, very respectful in like what she's doing, and kind of like sets like a precedent,
but like
of our characters, you know.
Even at the same time, like not sexualize, like making the choice to not sexualize with the women is still, and I'm not disagreeing with you here, is still not the same as giving them equity.
Represented, right? Yeah.
Yeah. They're still, all of them are still 100 pounds before armor. Like, or even after armor, honestly. They're fucking tiny. They all have like a 19-inch waist. So it's like they're not sexualized by having like massive cleavage or whatever, but they are still sexualized in the fact that they all have to be dainty and kind of like a damsel, more so than an actual character that is on equal footing to all of the male characters, who have far more diversity in body sizes and representation.
That's where you get stuff like Anya becoming a badass because instead of a ponytail, now she has a bowl cut because she cut her tail off.
Yeah, but she's still tiny.
Yeah, she's still tiny, but super big of her character. She has she fucking chopped half of her hair off.
Yeah, that's also the one haircut that every, like Anya, Sam, and Alex all have the exact same haircut.
Does Alex have that? I don't think so, right? I think Alex has more of like a side shaved thing going on, right?
I don't.
Or maybe that's how it's styled.
It might be different in the comic from the game. I remember in Judgment it being more because Alex Brand was based on concept art for Anya, wasn't she, with the bob?
Oh yeah. I think in the comics she has a different hairstyle, but in the games her hairstyle is different.
Alex's pixie cut. I mean, yeah, it's a little bit like it's combed forward or whatever, right? Why are we sitting here like cosmologists? Point is, the women don't get equal representation.
Yeah, they don't. Women are cool. well, I think
that's a hot take. That is crazy.
That's a hot take. Fucking.
Today's day
I
and age,
think
apparently, yeah.
at the time, maybe like really buff women were. I don't know. Obviously, it was what, like 2006 or something like that. So obviously, buff women were probably seen as like more manly, so they didn't want to add that. But then
Yeah, I can't think of a single like built woman in media until like Zarya in Overwatch.
yeah, like there was like Shiva in Mortal Kombat, but even then she was
But
kind of like a
she was wearing like a
slender
metal
buff.
bikini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Metal bikini, slender buff type of thing. Um, and even when you had like dominatrix type of characters, they were still like just like tall. They were just tall. That's kind of like what they were.
The what?
I think buff women are awesome.
Oh.
And
They are.
I
we're,
just
we're
feel
going down.
I feel the characters are so buff in Gears. I think they debuffed them kinda over the years. But I feel like that should give the opportunity for women to be buffed up.
I think
if you're
they
gonna slightly debuff characters, you should probably buff up the woman as well.
Yeah. God, why am I so goddamn low in the frame? But
I
yeah.
don't know. Is that a hot take though? Would people?
It's a hot take for people who don't see women as equal partners.
I
So,
guess so. Yeah. Oh
there's
man,
definitely-
I really want to have a conversation with somebody who
thinks
thinks that
that.
women shouldn't be like a soldier in the cause.
I had a conversation with someone who I didn't know at the time. There's like a buddy of mine who knows that I like Warhammer, and then he's got his own friend who is also likes Warhammer. That I didn't know this at the time, but he had like we're all in a what do you call it, group chat, voice call together. His friend is like straight up MAGA, like he's hardcore into all that shit. So I didn't know about that when we were talking about it. So I was like talking to this guy about Warhammer, where it was like, yeah, it's like I used to like the Salamanders, but then I kind of like fell off it because I realized like even though they're slightly nicer than the other Space Marines, I realized they're still just space fascists. And I went on this whole rant about like the Imperium of Mankind being super fascist or whatever. And then by the time I get to the end of my rant, the guy was like, yeah, cool. And then like he left the call. And then I found out afterwards, and I was like, oh well, I'm sorry if you're upset that you think that I think fascism in media, whether or not it's in media or not, is bad. And that's kind of how most of those conversations go, where it's like, I think the women in Gears should be equal, and they're like, women equal, and then leave. There's no, there is no like attempt to have an honest conversation about it.
I feel like it's fine to like if a character was like a even like a communist or something like that in a game. I think it's okay to like that
That's what the
character,
COG
but
are.
it's like if you're like, oh, I idealize this character, or like I like this character because of how he goes about his ideals.
Yeah, that's different.
You're probably a little cooked or something like that. I don't know. It's like Marcus is the everyman in the COG, or at least supposed to be. So he's like
He was until
a
Baron
likable
for me.
idealist. But then being like, oh yeah, I love Prescott because of like ideals. Oh yeah, okay, man.
Yeah.
Okay, Prescott Jr.
I also I don't understand the fandom response of people where like I've gone on these rants about Baron and things like it many times where it's like that's fucked up. And people, instead of going like, yeah, that's fucked up, but like I can see why like the justifications in universe or whatever, like it's made more evil by the fact that it is approachable and accessible from the lens of the characters in universe.
Yeah,
That's like a nuanced take to have. But instead of doing that, they go, they had to do it, or else they were going to lose the war. And it's like, no, the fuck they didn't. The breeding farms didn't do anything to help them win the war. Adam Phoenix's MacGuffin on the secret island did.
And like, if you think about it realistically, like, okay, you have like what, even like 50 women in these camps.
Yeah.
Each. I don't know how many camps there were, but like 50 women, let's just say.
Never gets brought up again. Yeah, it's only in that one
babies, pretty much 50 babies a year.
Yeah.
50
How many
babies a year, and you need to wait like 16 years for them to even be on the front lines. You're not winning shit with that. That's too long.
The children that were there. So hold on. Alex said she got there when she was 12. She left when she was 18. I don't know how old she is. That's like Gears of War 2 time, so 15 years into the war. So the children that were born at the same time she was there when she got there would have barely been like turning 15 by the time of Gears of War 2. If we take it that like she was inducted at 12, like that the creches were started like right after the hammer strikes after a year after E-Day. I have no idea if there's an actual timeline on that. I don't think there's an official age for Alex out there. We know like the age of her being in the creche, but it's never explained outside of that.
Yeah.
So I'm just going,
I think,
widest time stream, those 50 kids that they pumped out are younger than Benjamin Carmine by the time of Gears of War 2.
I fucking think that they like injected hormones into younger girls so they can get pregnant a lot earlier.
Yeah, do awful things to them.
Yeah, so it's like there's no justifying that.
There's not even it's not even in like the most banality of evil argument where it's like at least it did nothing. There is no mathematical way for it to do anything unless you just hand wave a lot of logic. Or unless it's even worse and it's like
hormones into the babies to age them up to 18 and have them fight in the war.
They should have taken the sick children of infected miners and combined them with DNA of somebody who was immune to rust lung so that they could grow test tube baby soldiers that are stronger than ordinary humans and gotten them to fight the locust. You think that would work?
I think you're onto something. I feel like we go somewhere with that.
Not to mention a lot of them, like Alex, get traumatized but put in the army anyway. Yeah, how many of those motherfucking women started fragging their officers immediately? That's what I would do. If I can't understand that horror necessarily. I'm a dude. I can't give birth, if only. But, like, I imagine the first thought I would have wouldn't be Alex Brand's of, like, I gotta prove myself that I'm better than men. My first thought would be, where do I get a frag grenade, and where's the nearest officer of the highest rank? And that motherfucker would be blown to smithereens. Because what are you talking about? They go through this existential traumatic torture for 6+ years, and then just get put into the army. Like, what? Yeah, people in Vietnam started fragging just because they were drafted. They didn't even get tortured first. Could you imagine torturing a whole half of your population, putting them into the army, and then expecting them to be coherent and cogent with the rest of the fighting force? They should be murdering people left and right, and they would be justified to do so. I wouldn't feel bad at all if Alex Brand walked into that bar and she was like, Marcus Phoenix, your dad's, like, in charge of, like, a lot of the COGS weaponry and stuff, huh? He's like, yeah. And Alex just whips out a snub and shoots him right there. I would not feel bad about that whatsoever. Because honestly, yeah.
Yeah, especially since Marcus, like, literally, like, didn't give 2 fucks about what happened to her.
Dude. I'm just saying,
Like,
if I try to think of myself in those shoes, and I heard John DiMaggio's smooth voice say you could either make gears faster or you could kill grubs better. I'm better at the second one. That motherfucker's getting a 50 AE in between his eyes immediately. Because what the fuck is that response?
The 1% of John DiMaggio's smooth voice would save him for me. John DiMaggio, like, that's so fucked up for you to say, but you sound awesome.
Let's go make bacon pancakes.
Yeah, let's go make bacon pancakes. We gotta say Finn, man.
The way you what's the line? You treat me to the female sex makes me sick.
Yeah. Mistreatment of the female fucking gender makes me sick.
What is this? Oh, the next hot take I had was DBs aren't that bad. They only suck because Gears of War's core gameplay loop sucks, and they kind of expose it at its worst because they're slow moving.
DBs are awesome. People think DBs are boring.
Them conceptually as like a replacement for like the enemy archetype that Lambent had for enemies that like explode is great.
Yeah, but even on top of that, they replaced a lot of the Locust and Lambent archetypes, Like
Yeah.
with the M bar, you have the sniper mixed with the one shot because it just tears you down in 2 shots, but it still shoots as far and like as accurate as like a sniper and everything like that. Then you have like the basic drones. Then you have the grenadiers mixed with the boomers.
Do you have like the
holding,
Guardians, where like an
overkills.
actually genuinely inventive enemy too?
Yeah, like you got to think about when shooting them. Like shoot half of your
Dude, how
clip into the shield.
satisfying it is to
Reload.
take him out with a drop shot.
Yeah, like dude, that the DBs are honestly like so crazy of an enemy to fight. And the only reason that people don't like fighting them is because they probably don't they just don't like the idea of robots instead of locusts.
It's not satisfying, which I think that goes back to what I was like talking about earlier, where it's like you should be able to kneecap Locust. The DBs should, I mean, they are literally effectively mechanically like the same as zombies, where you should be able to blow off their arms and their legs and they should keep crawling towards you. They kind of do that with the rejects in 5, but like it should be all DBs.
I guess I have an argument against it where DBs they weren't necessarily programmed to like fight really. And they definitely don't really have a program to crawl.
I mean, maybe
even
not,
though
but
Bear,
like
I'm sure Bear would have thought of that.
Bear develops an AI that gains sentience. So at that point,
But are they sentient?
not the DBs, but his
Oh
Iris.
yeah. You're talking about Iris, right?
Yeah, I'm sure he could figure it out. But like, not even like lore wise, whatever. Like mechanically, it would make them more interesting. Like if DBs were the kind of enemy where you hit them with a headshot and it does a lot of damage, and the head pops, but they still keep going. They do like a headless chicken thing where they still keep shooting you for a little while more. I know they kind of do that with the. They get halfway there with the. What are the big guys called?
The DR1s.
DR1s, where like you
Yeah,
shoot the
they
head
have
off and they'll
grudges
like
where they run
charge
at
you.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like where I would rather they like actually continue to like fight a little bit. And you make it more interesting to where it's like you have to like kind of like have you played Fallout 4?
A tiny bit.
There's like a thing with all the different robots in that game where, especially with VATs, you can target specific systems in every robot. Like you can target like its targeting beacon or its power core or whatever specific limbs and stuff. Obviously, Gears doesn't have VATs, but like if you had that kind of thing where it's like going behind a DB and shooting it directly in the back, kind of like rejects, but like in a different way where you don't have to get up and melee them, where you could just quickly disable them versus like putting a lot of lead into them from the front, would make them more interesting to fight in firefights and give you reason to actually go around and flank shit.
Yeah, fighting the rejects is pretty fun because you could pull out their power core or you could just shoot them in the leg and have them crawl.
Yeah.
And honestly, seeing them kind of like jitter before they explode is like kind of unnerving and shit like that. It's really cool.
Yeah. They should make the regular DBs act almost as the swarm infected DBs do.
I remember being under the impression that the robots were just like lame in general, but upon replaying it and realizing what the robots actually did, I feel like if the reason you don't like fighting the robots is because I guess they're quote unquote not fun to fight, that's probably not the reason. Because
I think if that is
like
the reason,
they
it's also
cover
just
every
because
base.
Gears of War has some structural issues mechanically overall that persists through all of the combat.
But if I guess in my opinion, whenever I'm playing the game and I realize that the enemies are moving super slow like the DBs, I start trying to pop off. I start trying to like get around all quick, kill them as fast as I can. But that I guess that's just me. Maybe some people will still like sit behind cover and just like shoot them with lancers or something. But I know whenever I'm playing, I'll try my hardest to like fight them as like fast as I can.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means it's like good that I want to get past them or what. But I feel like the way they're designed, it kind of like incentivizes that kind of, where it's like you can sit back and just like shoot them, but they'll take forever to kind of get to you. And once they take forever to get to you, they get into an area where you have salvo aiming at you overhead, while a DR1's coming at you on your left, and then the sniper's kind of peeking at you. So you have like all these things shooting at you. If you don't take your time and actually like rush into them, not only are you getting rid of the small guys first, while the big bullet sponges are coming at you, but you also have to decentivize that, I guess. They also make the robots explode. So once you get in there to kill them, you kind of gotta like get out of there. You kind of gotta get out before they blow up on you and take some damage. So I feel like there's a nice balance. They probably want you to fight the robots in a certain way. But people just aren't playing that certain way. So yeah, it's definitely like a game design thing that they could have done better on. But I think all the components are there to have a fun gameplay experience if you rush at them, rather than playing Gears of War and sitting back, if that makes sense.
No, it does, yeah. But I think, like, because it is so much more simpler, and especially because it's how older games have encouraged you to play with the slower movement and stuff, the vast majority of people will end up in that second category where they just sit behind cover, pop up and like take pot shots at enemies from across the map rather than getting up and close and moving around them in the level itself.
Yeah, if you're watching this, if you're listening to this, guys, go play through like the first few chapters or something like that of Gears of War 4 and just rush at the fucking drones, or not the drones, rush at the DBs, and you'll see how difficult it is to kind of get like swarmed by them a little bit and avoid all their explosives and shit. Because like while they're not hard to fight, they can get overwhelming. They can get overwhelming if you let them.
Yeah.
And I think that's like the fun of it, is that they're like a nice training ground, I guess. That's what they are, a training ground.
Yeah,
because they work for people learning the game, and they also give a slight challenge for people who are used to like intermediate,
the standards. Yeah. Which is exactly what the Lambent was. The Lambent were weaker than Grubs, but they were a mix-up from what we had done in Gears of War 2.
Yeah, man, the more I think about it, Gears of War 4 is literally #1 in the series, the more I think about it. It's fucking crazy.
It is.
TC is actually, like, full of geniuses, and we were just too stupid to see.
Well, I mean, you gotta think, most of the people that came over to Black Tusk, which then became the Coalition, came directly from Epic Studio. Like, a lot of the people who were leaders on Gears 4, and even Gears 5 through the beginning of it, were people who worked on Gears 2, 3, Judgment, Ultimate Edition. Like, they've been around for a while, especially like with someone like Rod Ferguson leading the helm. Why Gears of War 5 went in such a crazy direction is harder to answer, but...
Oh, I got something to say about that. I got something to say about that. Do you want to know why Gears of War 5 was so bad, actually?
In which way?
Because of identity politics, that's why. Because
women! Women!
Because they put a woman as the main character.
You know what?
And Dell
you sold
as the
me.
secondary character.
I know why Gears 5 is bad now.
But I just miss Marcus Phoenix. Yeah.
What's the... dude, I hate that fucking Flash Gets animation so much. Your black guy doesn't even go woo! And it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Really? Are we only allowed to have black characters that exist as 90s stereotypes? Is that the exclusive role of the black guy in a Gears game?
That's the thing. To be fair, that's why people like Cole, but that's kind of like crazy.
That's cool, but like that's Cole. That's not Dell. That's not Jay Stratton. That's not...
Like, Cole's like the only one that does.
I don't know if there's... Is there another black character in Gears? Hannah, kind of?
Really Griffin's like ambiguously so.
It's Ice-T. It counts.
Yeah.
If he says it, nobody's going to stop him.
He's like brown? But...
He's more like ambiguous. Ambiguously ethnic. Or like mixed. Based on how he's presented.
I don't know
he seems darker in Gears 4, though. Like, he seems more like closer to Ice-T's ethnicity.
Yeah.
Gears of War 4 is about womanhood, being a cap. Dude, I love that Andy Pants video so much. I don't know if you're familiar with...
Is that actually... Wait, what is that? What is that?
Andy Pants is like this right-wing grifter dude. I covered one of his Gears of War videos early on when I was doing like Gears React stuff, where I almost want to watch the video and have you react to this shit because it's fucking hilarious.
Honestly, I'm so good to end the stream with that. That'd be fucking awesome, actually.
Chat, do we want to end the stream with an Andy Pants reaction?
Chat, do you want to get political here?
Here, let me pull this up, and then if I stream it to... Hey, I'm here at the end. Video's over. I'm just letting you know that.